Hello, good evening. Welcome back to the channel. It's over and over and over again. My name is Richard, and this is a very special show that we've put together for you. A little bit, something a bit different we haven't done for a while. It is the Arsenal review. It's actually a different kind of show we're going to do as well. Yes, we're going to talk briefly about some of the recent games, particularly last night, but it's mainly going to be looking at what direction we think the club's moving in. Is it the direction that we feel is the right direction to take the club forward? Also, as well, we're going to look at Mikel Arteta. Has he reached his ceiling with Arsenal now? Is it time to get someone else in to take us over the line? Or can he still achieve the success that we're also desperate for? So we're going to look at things from a slightly different angle. We're not just going to look at the games. We're going to do something a bit different. So give us your opinion as well. Put your questions and comments in, because I want you guys to get involved as well. Let me know what you think. I've been quite harsh maybe on this manager. I feel justifiably so, but I know there's a few people on the show tonight that are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. That's what we're here for. So it's all coming up the other side of this. And of course, we have got some very, very special guests, and there's another guest on his way as well. Of course, we have got the one and only Mr. Positivity, Neil. Of course, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good, thanks. How you doing?
Not too bad. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I'm so glad you're doing it. I was hoping that you would do one soon. So pleasure to be on as always, Rich. Thank you for inviting me, and good to meet Mike. I don't think I've met Mike before, so hello, Mike.
Good evening.
Yeah, and I say Mike's with us as well. Of course, he's been on the women's show before, but this is the first show we've done on the men's team with Mike. It's good to see you again. Are you okay tonight?
Yep, wonderful. Thanks very much. It's a pleasure.
That's what I was about to say. Lee's on his way as well, just in case you're worried. Lee is coming. Our favourite Lee that there is coming on as well. We have got some comments in already, actually, which is good. Terry's with us. He says, "Evening, Richard. A great win, but it's got to be the worst North London derby I've ever seen." Well, I think I've seen a few worse, but it wasn't great. We'll talk about that a little bit, which is good. Terry says, "Please hit the like and subscribe button anyway." And indeed, Greg's with us as well. Aidan, Greg, good to see you. Hope you're okay today. Obviously, Greg had some bad news yesterday if he was on the show. We've got Gretz with us as well. How you doing? Good to see you all. Phil as well, which is good to see. Greg says, isn't it sad Rice said about getting up for the Spurs game? Why couldn't they get up for Newcastle and United games? Well, yeah, I suppose that's a good point as well. I wanted to start actually looking at what I think is the direction the club's. Actually, before we get started, we have got, of course, we've got Lee in the house. How are you doing, Lee? Good to see you. Can you hear us?
He's got on mute.
Lee, can you hear us? Earth to Lee, yeah, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah.
No worries. I was just looking for your link, Rich. It's gone to junk.
How can it go to junk? What's it doing? What's it playing at?
No idea. Hopefully that's not a reflection on what we're about to speak about.
No, it might be some sabotage going on, Lee. There's a lot of stuff on social media that don't like what I say about certain people connected to the club. Like they're trying to sabotage the show, maybe. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
But it's good that you managed to get through it.
That's good to be in.
What I wanted to start with really tonight was looking at the direction that the club appears to be heading in. Now, Edu was the director of football, sporting director, whatever it is you want to call him. He left in early November. We're in the January transfer window. He's not been replaced. Why have they taken so long to get a replacement in? We've got a transfer window. We've got no director of football, and we're expected to make transfers. I'm not sure how that works. There is an issue with the women's team. The manager walked out in October. They still haven't got a permanent manager in. It's January. What are the club doing? What's going on behind the scenes? Now, we know Josh Kroenke apparently flew over for the game yesterday. I didn't see any images of him, but I'm assuming he was there. What's he come over for? Has he come over to sort some transfers out? Has he come over to sort of director of football out? What seems to be going on? The summer transfer window was a disaster. And there doesn't seem to be too much happening in the January window. Yes, there's still a couple of weeks left. We may get some deals done. Looks as though they're going to be panic deals because suddenly, we've got a few more injuries than we anticipated. Now, I personally feel that the club seem to be more interested in PR. They seem to be more interested in selling merchandise than they are actually having success on the pitch. Now, some people look at it, we're second in the Premier League, 4 points off the top. We're third in the Champions League group. Okay, we've got knocked out pretty much the 2 domestic cups in 4 days, which wasn't great. But a lot of people will be quite look at it and actually, we're not doing too bad. What are you moaning about? And on paper, that looks all right, doesn't it? But it's more of a long-term plan for the club. I don't see a long-term plan for long-term success. It seems as though the club aren't interested in the success that us as fans want to see, which is trophies, cup finals, league titles, all that kind of stuff is what we want to see as fans. I don't care if we sell 50 million new bits of merchandise a week. I don't care if we're number one on social media clicks on the Twitter page or whatever it is. I want to see success on the pitch. That's what bothers me, and I'm sure that you guys as well. And I don't feel that the club are focused enough on that. I don't think that they are. And when you listen to the interviews coming out from the club, the stuff that they're producing, it all seems to be PR. All the media around Arsenal is all PR. Nothing about we're going to win these trophies. We're going to do everything we can. We're going to buy these great players. I can't remember the last time we bought a player that you looked at and thought, a player like an Alexis Sanchez, a game-changing player. When did we last buy one of them? Someone that got you off your seat. I don't get off my seat watching this team. Not one player excites me, apart from Bukayo Saka, and he's currently injured. But no one else excites me. I don't think to myself, I can't wait to watch this team. I'm thinking, oh my God, we've got another game to enjoy. I want to enjoy it again. I don't feel that I can. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I mean, Neil, I know you're Mr. Positivity, as we always say. You like to see the positives in everything that's going on. And I'm sure there's loads of positives that I'm not getting, I'm not seeing. What direction do you see the club going at the moment? And is it a direction that you as a fan are happy with?
Well, look, it's not been a good spell at all, has it? This whole season, I think it's been coming a bit of a capitulation that we've endured. I'm furious at the Saka injury because I've always thought he's been overplayed. There have been games where he didn't need to play and he's turned up, even the ones where he was brought on maybe for half the game or a third of the game. I'm thinking, why? He doesn't need to be playing. So that man management or that player management has been awful as far as I'm concerned. He's just been he's still only 23, and he's played non-stop football for the last 4 or 5 years because of the England duties.
Is it 250 games or something he's played, isn't it?
Unbelievable. I mean, you're human at the end of the day. I mean, all right, I know he's a tough lad, and I give him all due credit for that. And there were many times where he proved me wrong because I was thinking, surely he's not playing in the next game after the way he came off the last one. And then he's back again. And you think, wow, all right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this guy's just made of some super titanium. I don't know what he's made of, but it's just ridiculous. But I think his management has still been a little bit, there's some question marks for me there, the way he's been managed. So look, if I put my positive hat on, we can look at it and say, well, actually, this season we've been ravaged with injuries as well. We have had some poor injuries to key positions, and that has not helped our cause. But then I look at it again and I think, well, there are areas where we could have been strengthened and we weren't. We'd rather be strengthening the back again, where the couple of deals that he done. I mean, look, Calafiore might become a great player. I don't know, but I don't think we necessarily needed him. And yet we strengthened there and we don't really look at the front. And he was happy with what we had. Now, I'm sorry to say this. I've always been a big Martinelli fan. I loved Trossard when he first came on board. But they are not the answer to our forward challenges. If you think about Jesus, he's not going to get you 20, 25 goals a season. Saka can't be relied on to do the work for every single blooming competition. So there's that. So who are you left with? And I know Terry's a massive Kai Havertz fan, but even he can't, propel us to the heights of glory, So we needed a striker or a forward player, and we didn't get one. And look at Isaac. Look at him for Newcastle. 9 games on the trot, I think he scored. Someone like him who we were linked to. Why didn't we pull out all the stops to get a player like him? I agree. I then think about the points you make about that, Richard, saying, well, would Arteta have used them to their strengths and would they have been ruined as a player? But I think we have misread everything in respect to key signings and key positions. I think we have had a bad player management. And I think in some of the games, again, all right, we can't criticise every single one because there are times where he does make a substitution and it works. But I think overall this season, I think his substitutions have had a few question marks as well. And I'm no manager. What do I know? I don't know anything. I'm just observing as a fan that loves the club. But it doesn't look great. Yes, league position, fantastic. Champions League, we're doing all right, to be fair. But you know how much I love the cups, Rich. I mean, come on, we've fallen again at the second or third round, the last fourth, ever since he won it. It's not good enough. I don't. We surely 10 men, mind you, who aren't exactly, brilliant themselves, and we can't even do anything. Did we have one shot on goal in 49 shots or something stupid? One shot on target in 49 or one goal in 49? I don't know what it was, but some crazy stat. We need a finisher. End of.
Absolutely. No, we do. Absolutely. And there's no doubt about that. We've needed one for a while. My concern slightly with that is we did have a couple of decent strikers when Mikel Arteta rolled up. And I think one of the problems is a goal scoring centre forward. Generally, they have egos, don't they, strikers? They do that. They're an ego player. I think they need to have an ego because if you're going to score all the goals that you do, you have to. And I don't think Arteta is very good at handling players with egos. He likes the nice guys, the easy guys to manage. And you can see that in all the players that he's bought, all our team. This is what I was saying before about players that get you off your seat and make you excited. None of them players really do because they're all very similar in character. They're very similar in the way that they play. They're very structured. And I don't know whether Mikel Arteta would be able to manage a top-class, world-class centre-forward or striker because of the ego that would come with them. And I fear that if we do buy a striker, you look at the striker, the only striker he's bought in 5 years, Gabriel Jesus, is that type of player that isn't an out-and-out goal scorer, doesn't really have that ego that a goal scorer has, which is why he doesn't score the goals that he does. And my concern is that if we do buy a striker, if it's now or at the end of the season, it won't be the type of striker that us as fans want to see. Because I'm not sure if Mikel Arteta can handle one of them type of players. I really don't think he could. And whether it's because he's still quite young into management, whether that's because of his style, I don't know. But that's my concern. I don't see too much to suggest that he's going to end up buying an Alexander Isak type. But not that Alexander Isak particularly looks like he's got a big ego, but that type of player I can't see Mikel Arteta buying. He's more likely to buy an Ollie Watkins type striker. That's the type of player he might buy. I'm not saying Ollie Watkins isn't a good player, but it's not really what we really need, is it? Let's be honest, as good as he is. Yeah, but yeah, we can only see what's going to happen, can't we? I mean, in terms of direction of the club, I mean, Mike, where do you feel the club are heading? What direction do you see the club currently going in? Because I think, although we've improved, obviously, in the last 2 or 3 seasons to where we were, I'm not sure if now the club have got the ambition to take that next step. I think we're going to maybe drift back down and become more like we were in the latter years of Wenger, challenging for top 4 every year, getting the Champions League and everybody being okay with that. And that's not, I don't think that should be acceptable now with the money that we're spending.
Yeah, well, I agree with what Neil said and what you said. I think the way we were going we were improving because in the years so far under Arteta, we've increased our points from 8th getting 61 points, 5th 69 points, 2nd 84, and last year finishing 2nd with 89 points, which is a club record. So there, the graph is going up. And I think where we're sort of hitting a plateau now, where maybe we because I think anybody could have improved us really where we were. We had so many players that had to be get rid of. They weren't good enough, and I think credit has to go to Arteta what he's done. He came straight in, fresh broom, swept everybody out. He's got in the players he wants. He's brought some kids on. So the direction, I think, up until maybe the beginning of this season, I've no worries at. I think, credit where it's due. I think he's done very well. The problem is now is the sort of we've come round the corner on the last 100 meters of the 400 meters, and now's the time when we've really got to push and put those last few yards in. And at the moment, it's not looking like we're going to do that. And the worry is a striker for me. I haven't seen anybody that's pulling trees up anywhere in Europe. I mean, Vlahovic, I don't rate at all. I think he gets lost in games and he's got no control. The only one that we keep getting linked with is Isaac. And if you think about it, when we were linked with him, he was a very young, raw player. And I can understand Mikel Arteta didn't want to take him on because we had some young players coming through at the time. And to add another person, so he went for Jesus instead, possibly. So we got somebody with some experience. And I think that's what maybe has sort of stopped that particular move. And also, he was untried. He was playing overseas, you might say, in an easier league. So, you know, the way we're going now is a worry. Havertz, you mentioned before. I think he's a very talented lad, and he works hard. But at the end of the day, working hard doesn't get you a medal. It doesn't get you a trophy. You need somebody who puts the ball in. You know, Gary Lineker didn't have a great deal of skill, but he was always on the end of the ball, and he always put it in the net. And that's
working hard the minimum, isn't it, Mike? Like, working hard is the minimum that they should be giving. Everybody should work as hard as they can. They're getting paid lots and lots of money to represent this club. The least they've got to do is run around a lot and work, haven't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, well,
that's the least.
Well, I think Havertz has got such a lot, except one thing, and that is finishing. I think he's finishing even when he scores. If you look, I was thinking about it this afternoon, and even some of the goals he scored, he's made a shot and it's gone under the keeper. He seems to find the keeper with any headers, any shots, and when it goes in, a lot of the time it's under a keeper, or the keeper's sort of been wrong-footed or something. But where are the Aubameyangs and people who were scoring and scoring and scoring? You know, Sesko's the latest one that they're talking about, and to be honest, I've not been impressed with anyone, and I think, and that's the problem, and maybe that's why we didn't buy anybody in the summer, because those people weren't available, and then we end up buying some or loaning somebody like Sterling, who really makes up the numbers for me. He would have been sort of second, third, fourth choice even. But the injuries now, he's going to be a critical part because we've no one to play out there now. So I think we'll go out into the market and get someone. So the direction at the club at the minute, coming back to your question, I've been okay so far, but it's a definite worry now because Edu's not there. How much influence does Mikel Arteta have now? Is it going to be his choices? We have got some contract guys and people who have worked behind the scenes, and that because that was always a problem, wasn't it? We were getting people on 5-year contracts, paying them 200 grand a week, and you know they weren't worth half that. So I think Richard, I've forgotten his last name, but he's in for the contracts. So at least we've improved on that score. It's just now getting the right players, and I think you're going to struggle in January. So, you know,
yeah, we are going to struggle in January, and I don't think January is generally a good window. Our mistake was in the summer, wasn't it? Not strengthening in the positions that we needed to strengthen. Instead, strengthening that, as Neil said, strengthening positions that did we really need to strengthen it? Did we need Mikel Merino? Not really. Did he strengthen us what we needed? No. Did we need Calafiori? Not really. No. They're not saying they're bad players, but they're not what we need. If we're going to spend money in the summer, we needed to strengthen other areas, and now we're desperate because of the injuries that we've got. And now we're going to be scrambling around to try to get a body or two in just because we have to, rather than planning and getting the right players when we needed them. I mean, Neil, Lee, what the point that Mike made there, it got me thinking a little bit there. The progress that we made, particularly the previous 2 seasons where we've gone quite close to winning the league, has it become now, is everybody become too satisfied with where we've been as opposed to wanting more? I get the feeling that everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people, whether it's the club itself inside, the players, the manager, the fans, certainly, have we become too satisfied with what looks like what is an improvement, but it's not enough? But have we become satisfied with what we've been given?
I don't think so, Rich. I mean, speaking personally, I'm not satisfied. I want to win trophies, right? That's the end game, right? But I think it has been hugely positive the last couple of years, and as much as we have improved, the performance has gone up, right? The progression has gone up. It's just that we, as you guys are saying, we appear to have stalled, right? We've had injuries, but fundamentally, right? And I've wrote down all your other issues you covered here, like a politician on Question Time. I've noted down all your commercialisation of the club, social media posts, direction of the club. So I've come back to those, but on the pitch, for me, it is basically a striker. We're all screaming out for a striker. We've not had a number 9, a proper number 9 at the club for 4 years. That's an absolute fact. Got rid of Aubameyang. I think he needs to go. I know you don't, but I kind of think for whatever reason, we reached the end of the line. Arteta has done a lot of things right. The spirit of the club's good. The stadium has been fantastic the last couple of years. We've progressed, right? You can't say we haven't, because we have, right? Other clubs have spent more money. I was checking on the numbers earlier. Other clubs have spent more money, and they've performed lower than us, right? And not obviously Man United have been a disaster, but it's not for want of creating chances. How many chances have we created the last 3 or 4 games? Like an absolute shed load. Last night we could have had 8. And to be honest, it's not just a striker. The players that we've got on the field need to be able to put the ball away and finish. Right. Some of the Michael alluded to it about Havertz, the ball coming off his shoulder and not quite being ready. We don't pull the trigger in the box and outside the box ever. If you don't shoot, you don't score. Trossard last night, the position he was in, I'd probably give him about a 20% chance of scoring, if that. The ball happened to bobble over the keeper's hand and go in the net. What shot? He shot, we scored. And we don't do that. We do our left, we go to the left, we go to the right, we do our fanning about, and basically the chance. And if we don't score and the other team score, we all go, I don't believe it. We've had possession. The stats are like 70% possession. We've had all the game, and we've had 5 chances, and we haven't scored. So it's 2 things. It's obviously getting a striker, and I'm definitely, we haven't got to it yet. I'm definitely still Arteta in, because we have progressed. I've loved it. I always said to you, Rich, I want to be up there challenging. When we first started supporting Arsenal, we were always 7th or 8th. We got to 5th, we started getting dizzy, didn't we? And then the Aston Villa year, we were like 2nd. We got 2nd or 3rd when we fell off our chairs. So I always want to be up there challenging. That's important to me. But ultimately, you have to win. I've got loads of good things to say about the manager. I know if he knocks at your door with a suitcase of £1 million in it, you still wouldn't be happy with him, right? But that's just you. For me, there's not one good thing. There's not one bad thing. There's positives and negatives. Positives are obviously the atmosphere in the stadium. We've progressed. There's a togetherness in the team. He's brought in some great players. Havertz wasn't sure about, but he's kind of won me over. I don't think he's just a trier. I think the ball always sticks to him. He's always in the thick of the action, right? If he had someone to play off, I think he'd be even better. He's not a main man. He's not a target man, obviously, right? So we're a bit a miss up there. So on the negative, 4 years without a striker is a scandal. It's an absolute scandal. And I posted something the other day, and some guy said to me, I think I sent it to you, Rich. He said, "Who would you suggest?" Who would I suggest? I don't know. I feel like swearing, right? I'm not working for Arsenal Football. Arsenal Football Club, one of the biggest football clubs on the planet. Yes. If we can't get a striker in 4 years, I think he said to me, I'm not picking on this particular guy. Oh, there were a lot of good players at the Euros. Who should we assign then at the Euros? Like, forget the Euros. This is in world football, right? As you say, Isak 3 years ago was out. There were other players. We must have a scouting network to pick up a forward player. It shouldn't be beyond the wit of man. So that falls at Arteta's door. And again, people, so I will criticise him for that. And people have said to me, oh, yeah, but it's not down to Arteta, it's the board. What? It's the director of football. If you're a manager and you're not getting the players that you want, then you basically either walk out and just say, look, I can't do the job, my hands are tied, right? It's just not working. You do need that back in. I know, what's his name? Scott Parker did it. Maybe people say it was a bit rash, but ultimately he committed suicide because he never had the players. But so I think in terms of the direction of the club, none of us on this call are party to what's going on. None of us. We don't know whether there is someone in place. We don't know whether they are pulling strings to get players or not over the line at the end of January. Yeah. History would suggest we're not the best because we seem to, as you said, Rich, and I agree, we sign players, you think, yeah, they're all right, Calafiori, solid, Marino, solid, but not what we need. So we're kind of scratching our head a bit. So maybe they have got a grand plan, but they better hurry up because we ain't got a striker. We've got loads of injuries and we are in danger of falling apart. So if ever the club are going to pull a rabbit out of the hat, they better do it in the next couple of weeks. On the commercial side of it, Rich, I'm afraid we're stuck with that. Clubs are all doing it, coming out with the training tracksuits and the kit before the game. They're obviously out to boost income. Maybe it's they say it's down to financial fair play. I think it's just earning the dollar. The owners want to earn money, so the cash cow is the commercial side of it, right? As you say, but social media posts, laughable. Don't bother for me. Maybe it's a generational thing. Concentrate on your effing box office site, sorting the fans' ability to get tickets. All you ever see on social media is people complaining, and I've gone on it before, and I'm pretty tech savvy, and I've messed around for 20 minutes trying to work out whether the tickets anyway. So they need to worry about that, the ticket office, right, for one, and touts and people selling tickets for 400 quid, and stop messing around with social media. That for me as a fan is a priority, right? So my last point, and I'll stop rabbiting in a second, is ego. We had this conversation about a year ago, and you said he's got ego, and I think I said to you, well, maybe Rich is a young manager, and maybe there is an element of truth, and he is worried about having someone pipe up in the dressing room because he can't handle it. And maybe it's just he's trying to find his feet, and there's an element of truth in what you're saying. He just wants people just to nod, right? But if you think about it, his ego, he wants to win. Bottom line is, what's more important? If you can get a player in who can score 35 goals, even if he's a bit, he's not a yes man, and he's not going to toe the line. Surely to God, Arteta would sign someone that's going to get us over the league over the line in the Champions League or the Premier League. I'd say he would, and he'd run with it. Maybe not in the first couple of years.
He had a 30-goal striker. Got rid of him because he couldn't deal with his ego.
Yeah, but he stopped performing, Rich. He was diabolical.
But why did he stop performing? Why did he stop performing? He stopped performing because the manager was wanting him to do stuff he wasn't good at.
I don't know. I'm not in the dressing room. Maybe he signed a contract for 400 grand a week and thought, I'm going to get the pipe and slippers out and get a big cigar out and buy myself a nice gold. What car did he drive into the training room with? The training ground with? The big... I can't remember what it was now, a Cybertruck or something ridiculous. But
he had that before he joined Arsenal, didn't he? He had that before he signed for us. Yeah,
right.
I think so.
I don't know. Maybe I'm being unfair to Aubameyang, but bottom line is he stopped performing, right? And maybe there are issues there that again we're not privy to. Maybe you're right. Maybe he just couldn't handle his personality. But either way, if he's got an ego, he's going to want to win, and the clock's ticking. So if he has got an ego, he needs to lose it and find a player who gets us over the line. But overall, I'm happy with him, but there are issues there.
Can I just step in? There's a couple of points that Lee made was actually brilliant. I completely agree with the social media thing because, Lee, I've had the issues like you have, but the tickets have been it's been scandalous, really. Trying to just even get to a game, it's been horrific the last few years. And it does pain me. It does pain me. And I might be coming off, just the emotional side of things. But I see us put in a really rubbish performance. Forget the winning or losing. I'm talking about performance. Put in a rubbish performance. And within hours, they're releasing stuff about the players doing quizzes on and I'm like, hang on. I'm not in the mood to watch the players which didn't even put any effort into that game. Pit each other against their knowledge or whatever it is in a silly little social media stunt, right? I don't want to see that. That really, and I think it is a generational thing, Lee.
Yeah, I think it
really annoys the hell out of me. It really does. I'm thinking, can you focus on winning some games? Tony Adams, I've said it so many times. I've said it so many times. I'll never forget his quote. He said, from August to May, you do nothing but football and think nothing but football. After May's done, you can do what the hell you want. I don't care. I don't care. But between that period, it's football. But oh no, all these people, doing stupid. It just infuriates me. That's one thing. Yeah. The other thing is a little bit on Arteta's defense as well. Let's just remember one thing. It's his first. Whether this is the right thing or not, or wrong thing to say, I don't know. But it's a fact, and the fact is, at the time, he was probably the youngest manager in the Prem, and also, secondly, it's his first ever job as a manager. To take that on board, we were at that time. I'm sure everyone will agree. We were at that time. I remember. I wasn't even looking forward to games because I was thinking, what's the point? Because we're not going to get anywhere. At least he got us to the point where I actually cared about the next game, and it actually mattered that we only got a draw. We get a draw, and I'm like, we should be winning, not drawing. Before 2-3 years ago, I wasn't in that place at all. So that if you're going to measure progress is measured in different ways, and I think that might be one of the ways of measuring it. But one other thing you said, Lee, and this is the bit that contradicts him. I recall when he joined, I'm sure he did a massive interview, didn't he? And he was going on about non-negotiables and stuff. And I'm sure part of that was about he's going to build his team, and it's going to be him that's going to do the running as to what players he wants. So people can't turn around and say, well, it's the boards that stop it. It's not, no. This is your team. You are a manager for a reason. You are paid millions for a reason. And I was so with you on that because I get that. He's like, well, what did you suggest? And I said, it's not up to me to suggest. I'm not getting paid 20 million a year for it. Why should I?
Exactly.
I haven't got an army of scouts going around the world, probably getting their expenses paid, probably going in the best hotels to watch some people kick a blooming football around the pitch. I'm not doing it. So I'm not suggesting F all, sorry to swear. Right? That's down to them.
It's a weak argument, isn't it? It's a weak argument. Really weak.
But, No, I don't. I'm sorry. He's the one who should be in control of, and it is a joke because it's become, the Wenger-Dean issue again, isn't it? Wenger was brilliant with Dean. Dean and Wenger probably still, for me, the best duo that I've ever seen in football, ever. Because what they did for the club was incredible. And I don't care what Man City and Liverpool and Man United and Chelsea have done. I think Wenger-Dean, that was one of the best football relationships I've ever seen at a professional level. And as soon as Dean went, Wenger was half the man. Simple as that.
Rich is right. Okay, one thing I will agree with Rich is people will defend Arteta, and I defend him to a point, but you've got to be objective. Look at the pros, look at the cons. It's not one way or the other, right? So people are just completely they will just defend him and they will die on the hill and just say it's the ball, it's the dog in the training ground, it's anyone. He has got a responsibility. He is paid a lot of money, right? So if he can get a striker after 4 years, he's either got to come out and to say, right, I'm walking. I don't have. We're creating 954 million chances every game, right? And no one can finish it off. So it's making me look bad if it is the ball. So I'm resigning, right? But it's not. It's down to the manager.
It is. I mean, we're talking about the chances, right, that we're creating, and obviously, if you look at the stats of the game, particularly the Newcastle game, the Man United game, even last night, right. It's showing that we had a lot of chances, but we're not getting in behind teams. We're not ripping teams apart. We're passing them to death. We're putting crosses in, and sometimes we're getting half a body on the end of it, and that's called a chance. That's called an effort at goal. Right? How many really clear chances? Okay, the Havertz header against Newcastle where he should have scored, his shoulder, that's a clear chance, right? How many of those clear chances in the last 3 games have we really had? We've not had that many. We haven't. No, not clear chances. I don't
not
think
clear. No, not when you carve a team.
We haven't picked anyone apart. We do a very safe game of football, don't we? We pass it, put crosses in, and it does lead to an effort eventually. But it's not a clear chance. We're not getting in behind teams constantly.
It's too slow, isn't it? For me, it's too slow. They take an extra 2 or 3 touches. It's not that one-touch football. I mean, Wenger did it with no money. He had players that we sometimes used to laugh at. But even then, even him getting us to top 4 all the time consistently, remember some of the players used to have. But the football was still quite nice to watch. Despite it was quite nice to watch, right? It's almost like I was at the game against Newcastle and I was watching it. I was thinking, we've got all this possession. We're doing, like Lee was saying earlier, we're just fanning around, one touch. It's like, what are you doing? Can you just get near the box and have a shot, for goodness sake, right? Be a bit more direct. And then when it was Newcastle's turn to attack, so decisive. Bang, 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 4 or 5 passes, and they were through. They were literally ripping our defence apart. Another thing which I've noticed about our team, is we focus so much on the wing play, which is fair enough. Okay, fine. If that is our strategy, fine. And it has paid off, I suppose, in the last 2 seasons. But if that's our strategy, when it doesn't work, try a bit more direct approach through the middle.
Yeah.
I remember, which game was it, where Timber had a run through and it almost paid off. And I think even Odegaard had a couple of runs. It was the same game, just because they ran at players. They ran with the ball and they ran at players through the middle. The only player that strikes me of doing anything like that at the moment is Ethan Nwaneri, and he's blooming injured.
Yeah.
So we're lacking a little bit of dimension.
Yeah.
We're just constantly left wing, right wing, passing backwards and forwards, and too slow.
It's doing something. It's the unexpected. You got in football or in any sport, you got to do something unexpected. And if we go from side to side to side, it gets us to a certain level. But you need to throw in. You need to be a bit more dynamic and a bit more direct.
It's too predictable, Lee. It's too predictable.
It is too.
Exactly.
It's almost like we've got our plan A, and that is it. All bets are off, right? But again, football, like any sport, you just need to try something different, mix it up. There's nothing wrong with going direct. Man City, I remember a couple of years ago at the Emirates, and Haaland, I think it was ragdolling Saliba, I think, in that game, and they kept going long. City, like this great football inside, just. They were pinning us back, and they took the ball off us, and they just went long, and we were hanging on for dear life. And there's no reason why we can't do that. The only thing you'd say, we don't particularly have a striker like Haaland, but there's no reason why we can't mix it up.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Predictable is a great word to describe it, because we are very predictable. And I don't know. I watch other teams in the Premier League, and maybe it's just me that I just cannot get my head into Arteta's style of football. I don't like Pep's Man City style, so I was never going to like Arteta's style probably. But I watch other teams play in the Premier League, and I actually look at them and I think virtually every other team is more entertaining to watch than we are. They might not get the results that we've got. They're below us in the table, a lot of them. I mean, apart from Liverpool. Liverpool play great football and they're winning. But most of the other teams, I look at them like Tottenham. I've actually, and I know that's the wrong thing to say probably, but I've actually enjoyed watching some of their games. The way they play football is quite exciting. They let in loads of goals and it's funny, but it's actually quite entertaining to watch. Most teams in the Premier League to play more entertaining football than we do. And maybe it's because my feelings about it are so strong that I want to enjoy our games. And I end up finding I'm enjoying Nottingham Forest play Leicester more than I'm enjoying us beating Tottenham. And that's wrong. That shouldn't be right. Last night's game I thought was terrible. I thought it was a terrible game. I didn't enjoy it at all. The fact we won is the only positive out of it for me.
Yeah.
Other people were raving about it. Arteta saying, "Oh, what a fantastic performance." I'm thinking, did you watch the same game as me? I was bored. That game bored me.
No, there's one exception though. Lewis Skelly was amazing.
Yeah, Lewis Kelly was brilliant.
Yeah.
Individual,
the game itself,
some good performances, individual performances.
Yeah.
Declan Rice was fantastic. Yeah, Lewis Kelly was brilliant, right?
Yeah.
But as a game overall, going behind and coming back to wins fantastic, all that kind of stuff is great. But the game itself, I thought was boring. I didn't think we played particularly well. We played, it was slow, it was cumbersome. We seemed to struggle to create any good chances. And I don't know, I never got the feeling in that second half when it was 2-1, I knew what was going to happen. I knew we wasn't going to go on and get 3 or 4 goals like you should do against Tottenham, because they can't defend. They've got an 18-year-old midfield player playing centre back. Come on, if you can't score 4 or 5 against that team, what's the matter with you? They've got half their players out. We think we've got a few injuries. Apart from Bukayo Saka and maybe Ben White, there are only 2 first-team players that aren't playing. We've got our full-strength team last night. Tottenham had 6 players out, 6 of their first-team players out, and we struggled to beat them. That game could easily have finished 2-2. Right? We didn't play. I didn't think we played that well. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know.
No, it was a bit ragged, Rich, wasn't it? It reminded me of times. It reminded me of times of a game at school when everyone put their bags down and there was like 20 players, and it got ragged, got really ragged. And as you say, when they brought Maddison, who did they bring on? Maddison or someone else? So they had no holding midfield players. I thought, Jesus, we should be scoring 4 goals against this mob.
And an 18-year-old at centre back, he's not a defender.
Yeah, our Tottenham play what I call clown football. It's proper clown football. All they need is a juggler, right? So you should be exploiting them. And we did have chance. To be fair, Declan Rice said it. We should have scored 5 in the second half and really opened them up and killed them off. But you can't. In the back of your head, you're thinking, "Are Tottenham going to go and ruin us right at the end?" And we shouldn't be in that position, should we? Because better teams than Tottenham will hurt us.
Exactly. Better teams than Tottenham have hurt us in the last couple of weeks, haven't they? So and I don't know. I'm just not. I'm just not getting. I can't remember the last time. Well, okay, maybe the Crystal Palace away game. I quite enjoyed the performance there. I thought we played well there. We created lots of chances, scored a lot of goals, and that was a good performance. But that's been rare. Not only this season, but even going back. I mean, I know we won a lot of games last season. We ended up scoring them goals in the end, but we stat padded that, didn't we? By scoring about 11 in 2 games against Sheffield United. We scored a load against Burnley. You know, relegation fodder. But you know, I don't know. I'm not getting it. I'm not feeling it. I'm not excited by this team.
But to be fair, Rich, last season that we were going to away games and smashing them teams apart. We got that record, didn't we? 5 games of 6 games, 5 goals or more. I mean that was quite.
Look who we played though. Look who we played though. You know, it was Sheffield United. It was Burnley. Okay, the West Ham one was all right, but they gave us 2 penalties in that game.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know. The games, it was a good run of games that we had away from. Yeah, we scored a record number of goals.
You still got to do it,
you still got to go and do it. But I don't know. I felt that run was quite overrated because of the team that we played. It was quite lucky that, you know, we didn't have a Liverpool away thrown in there, did we? Or a Man City away, or a Chelsea away, or the more difficult games. It was all teams at the bottom end of the table. You still got to go and beat them.
When is the last time? Sorry, I will let Mike speak. Mike's been so quiet. I mean, I just very quickly, I'm trying to rack my brains. Just a quick trivia, general knowledge question, if you know it. When's the last time where you actually took out a big team quite comfortably, really just took them apart from start to finish? I just can't remember when we last did that.
Liverpool at home a couple of seasons ago, wasn't it? What was it? And Saka scored early.
But did we dominate that whole game?
No, but wasn't that the game when we got 2 late goals though to win it? And one of them was a mistake by the goalkeeper, wasn't it?
No, I think I'm going back a year before that, Rich. Saka scored early.
What about Chelsea? We beat them 5.
Yeah,
5 past Chelsea.
True.
And we absolutely battered them that day.
Yeah. That's the one.
That was April, But they were in the.
It wasn't that season Chelsea finished 9th or something though, wasn't it?
Can't remember. They still had a decent team. Then we didn't turn
They did
up
have a decent. Yeah, they still have.
There's no pleasing Rich.
Well, no, but it's like but you're right, Daniel. When was the last time we beat a team that finished in the top 4 and absolutely hammered them?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Rich, the only thing I'll take you is glass half full. Remember 5-6 years ago when we were getting smashed regularly, 6-1 by Liverpool, smashed 6 by Chelsea,
City.
5 by City. We were getting walloped, right? We were getting handed our backsides.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen anymore.
And it don't happen. And that top 4-5 league where we were bottom, weren't we? We were hopeless.
Always
playing Chelsea away, City away, Liverpool, and they were going, there you are, we're going to hand you your backside. That stops happening. Right. So
let's not forget the other thing which is important.
What's also stopped happening is we've stopped winning FA Cups.
We have.
That's also stopped happening.
But there's another go on. Sorry, Lee. Sorry. I keep interrupting you. Also, let's not forget. I mean, I know all the other London Cups have it as well, but we've got so many blooming derbies now. Liverpool, Man United, Man City, they don't have, and Man United, they don't have as many derbies that we have. And I know, some of the teams you could say, arguably, well, on paper, we should be wiping the floor with them anyway. But a derby's still a derby. It's always a tough fixture, especially away. And we have all of those to contend with. So in that respect, I don't think did we not set a record for the whole of 24? We didn't lose one London derby, did we?
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
Although if I was Liverpool, I'd be saying, well, you don't travel very far, then you don't have to stay in hotels. It's easy for you.
Yeah, I was going to say that. We're not travelling like Liverpool City. They're going up and down to London, and they're going to the East Coast,
That's the counter argument.
Whereas we can prepare, we can stay locally in a hotel. We're still close enough.
Yeah, good point.
Good point. And so I think I'd prefer playing close.
I would.
I'll retract that argument.
No, you've got a point, Neil. You've got a decent point. You're playing against West Ham or Chelsea away. We're a London club. There's a lot more hatred, isn't there?
Yeah, that bit's true.
Atmosphere.
But can I they're not necessarily answers, but we're talking, just going back a couple of paces, if I can.
Of course.
You're talking about the scouting and the direction to keep the theme going. The scouting, didn't we release a couple of years ago, maybe a bit longer, virtually our whole scouting network? When Edu came in, didn't they start? So Edu was going to start taking more control. They had people all over in Spain, Argentina, and all over the place. and they just finished all. They gave them all the cards and finished them. So when you say Arsenal's a big club, we should have scouts all over. I actually don't think we have, unless
I would thought I'd be shocked. I wouldn't. Mike, I don't believe that. I don't believe it. I cannot believe.
We certainly let a lot go. We
did let a lot go. I remember it now. Yeah, now you mention it, I do remember we were letting.
Are we talking 60%? I mean, if we let 20%, things get exaggerated, right? I'd say I just wouldn't believe we'd get rid of. Say we've got, let's making numbers up here, 200 scouts. If we go with what you're saying, it sounds like we've got rid of 190. We've got 10 left. I'll be shocked. We maybe got rid of 20%.
It'd be good to find out, but I don't know where that data would be. But I was under the impression we let a lot go.
Yeah. If I was saying Cronkier, I'll be sorry. Apologies to interrupt. If I was staying Cronkier, bearing in mind what makes money for football clubs, I've already touched on it. The commercial side. The other thing that makes money is what? Signing players and selling them for a profit. Why on earth would you get rid of scouts? You wouldn't.
I agree. I don't think it's a good thing. I'm just trying to answer the point that you were putting over. Also, there's been a bit of a theme about Arteta's ego and whether he likes players with ego, and he's got his own ego. I want a manager with some sort of ego, because the best boxers in the world say, you're not going to beat me, I'm the best, and they go into the ring and they know what they're going to do. They've got a plan, they stick to it, and the greatest always win. And I think with Arteta, he knows what he wants, and he's got an ego, maybe that he's the main man. But I want somebody who's confident. What I don't want is a manager who flip-flops about, keeps changing things. Ranieri was the first that kept putting people in, taking them out, putting them in, and he was flip-flopping about with tactics and stuff. And you don't get anywhere doing that. So
didn't Ranieri win the Premier League though? Didn't Ranieri win the Premier League with Leicester?
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about when he first came into English football. They called him the Tinker Man.
They did. Yeah,
I'm talking about when he was flip-flopping.
Yeah, Chief.
He was called the Tinker Man, and then when he went to Leicester, funnily enough, he never changed the team at all, did he? They pretty much played the same 11 every week.
Because Nigel Pearson put the team together. That's why.
Well, he did actually. Yeah, that's true. He did. It was his team. But I mean, you're right about an ego to a certain degree, but football is a team sport, boxing is an individual sport. And I think if you're playing an individual sport, your ego doesn't matter because you're in it for yourself. In a team sport, it's a collective, isn't it? Now Arteta's ego seems to be bigger than the club, and that's not right. He's got to have an ego. Everyone in professional sport has got to have an ego because you've got to want to be better than your opposition, haven't you? Individually and collectively as a team, and that's important. But when you've got one or two egos that are bigger than, and especially as a manager, if you can't accept other players that have got an ego like you have, then I can't see how you're going to get the best players and the best people at the club, because every top sports person, whether it's Tiger Woods or whatever sport it is, an individual sport or a team sport, the best players have got egos. And you have to be able to manage those egos. That's how. How do you think Real Madrid won all those Champions League with the Galacticos? Look at the egos they had there. Christ, they had more egos in that changing room than you ever seen anywhere else ever. They were all in one room. But whoever was the managers of those teams, it wasn't just one manager. It had a few, but they were able to channel that all in the right direction. And that's what Arteta's not able to do. He can't channel egos in any direction. He doesn't want them. There's not one player in that team that's got an ego that's out of control. The only one he had, well, there was two, I suppose, Ozil and Aubameyang when he arrived, and he soon got rid of both of them because he couldn't deal with it. He couldn't deal with the fact that they had egos and the fact that they were maybe more powerful or appeared to be more powerful. You're right, he's a young manager. Maybe he felt that they had more power than him to a certain degree. And now he's got a bit more experience as a manager. He shouldn't need to worry about that now, should he? He's got a safe job. He's not going to get sacked. He doesn't need to worry. Or what he needs to do is he needs to think to himself, right, let's get some players in with some egos. Let's have some, Martin Keown used to talk about it, didn't he? In training, they'd be kicking lumps out of each other. They would literally be kicking the shit out of each other in training. They had that winning attitude. You can see this in training. I know we see videos and stuff, and it's not always all what happens, but you can just see them all, laughing about and having jokes and playing around in training. You need players who are going to kick their teammate in training. That's what you need. You need a team like that. That's how you win things. You don't win things by being nice.
It should be a war zone for 9 months. That's on and off the pitch, as far as I'm concerned. You've got to be fixated. I think if you look at George Graham, I wouldn't suggest to necessarily say he was arrogant or had an ego, but I think he was very authoritative. He was very authoritative, and I think that's it's a different way. And look what he did. I mean, we were a mid-table team going nowhere, and he comes along and we win 6 trophies in 8-9 seasons. And it's I think sometimes people overlook what he achieved. I mean, everyone going, "Oh, it was boring football," but he still managed to do some amazing things. And look. To be fair to Arteta, I think George Graham did struggle with some of the more attractive so-called playboy players, didn't he? I mean, you had Charlie Nicholas, and you had Limpar as well. There was an issue at one stage, so he did struggle with it as well a little bit. But to be fair, I just feel that the way it's about balance for me. If you've got a bit of balance, and I think that's what is needed in any leader. A leader should have that balance. So there has to be a bit of ego to a certain extent, but then there's got to be some kind of something to mitigate that a little bit as well. And I think to be honest, for me as an Arsenal fan, Wenger would probably had it when in Wenger's heyday and his golden era. He had it perfect. He had whatever his style of management was then was spot on because it worked.
But who was it? I can't remember which player it was that said. There's been a few in some books and stuff I've read that what used to happen when Arsene Wenger was manager at half time, he wouldn't go in the changing room for 10 minutes. He would let the players fight out amongst themselves. And then he would come in at the end and just go over a few tactical tweaks. Arteta's the first in the changing room. He wants to be there first. He wants to be on that ball, moving things about and talking philosophy and all that kind of stuff, right? He can't allow the players to take any responsibility.
He does it on the pitch, Rich. Forget the changing room. He's doing it on the pitch.
Well, no, he does. He doesn't want anybody to take any responsibility for themselves. Whereas Arsene Wenger used to let the players take their own responsibility. And that's why he was so successful, right? And that's why we play such great football, because the players were allowed to express themselves, they were allowed to be themselves, they were allowed to to just think outside the box, and it wasn't reined in. Mikel Arteta wants to control everything. He wants to control what time they go to bed, when they get married, when their wife gets pregnant. He controls everything about all their lives, right? And he might think that's a great way to run a football team, but it's not, because you've got to look right. Some of our more talented players, it was mentioned earlier, Martinelli, he used to play with freedom. Now he's restricted, and that's why he's not playing very well. Trossard came in full of freedom, doing what he wanted to do, and suddenly Mikel Arteta said, "Sorry, mate, you can't play like that." His confidence has gone. Kai Havertz, confidence has gone. All our attacking, exciting players, the only one that survived is Bukayo Saka, because Bukayo Saka was there before he was even here. And Bukayo Saka is bigger than Mikel Arteta in Arsenal. He's bigger than Mikel Arteta, 100%. And I think Mikel Arteta knows that, and he knows he's the one player that he can't touch, because the crowd. But imagine if he fell out with Bukayo Saka, left him out of the team, there would be riots going on. And he knows that, Mikel Arteta. He's managed him pretty well. But then Bukayo Saka's not an ego player, is he? He's so down to earth, and he's such a great guy, and it's probably worked well. But he's the only player that hasn't gone backwards, the only attacking player that hasn't gone backwards under this manager and hasn't had his confidence taken away. All the others, their confidence is shot to pieces.
Rich, I just want to say, because you talk about Arteta wants to be running everyone's lives, but when Arsene Wenger first came in, didn't he have a saying like, "You've got to, it's chewing to win" or something? He made the players, when they had the lunch, to chew everything 35 times before they were allowed to swallow it. And he walked around. I mean, you're talking about Arteta wanting to run everyone's lives.
And same as George. You'd argue same as George. What do they call George Graham? Gaddafi. You've got to have an element, as Fergie said. You have to control a football club. You've got to control it, right? And maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't. To the extent, Rich, you make him sound like worse than Gaddafi. I don't know whether that's shown. I mean, Havertz has gone down. I don't think Odegaard has gone down. He's gone off the ball a touch, you look at his performances this year, they've been pretty good, and the same with Havertz. So I'm not sure that they're all shrinking violets and scared of him. I'm sure they'd stand up to him. But sorry.
To be fair, I think though Odegaard was a little bit better yesterday. I started seeing a bit more of his old self yesterday.
I did.
And I think and I know we've been very negative to this so far, but I just want to say one thing which I really loved about it. I love seeing Kieran Tierney. I know he's not got much long left with the club, and you know what was nice about it? The crowd really warmed to him, and I think that's a really lovely touch. I personally never thought he did anything wrong. I think he was unlucky with his injuries. And I just loved the kid, and you know there was this glimmer of hope for me when he came back in that game. Which game did he play? Because yesterday wasn't the first one he made an appearance in. And there was a glimmer of hope that I think Martinelli was playing and he was on the left, and I thought we'd see a little bit of that old Tierney and Martinelli link up that Emery introduced. But hey ho! But
he never done much wrong, Neil, did he? He never.
No, that's true.
What did he do wrong? He never gives the ball away. For me, he's always an option. He's a neat, tidy, decent footballer, right?
And in fact, he put a good ball in yesterday, didn't he? They didn't just finish it.
It was the obvious.
Odegaard pretty wide for about 2 yards.
Yeah. He did, yeah. Well, I mean, that's another discussion. Our shooting is abysmal. I mean, Rice, the amount of times I've been in that stadium, Rice and Odegaard, not picking on those two, sent balls flying over the crossbar.
It's the ball. It's too light. The ball's too light. They need to get a different ball.
That was a stupid thing to say. Really was.
Yeah,
that made me laugh so much. That was
I didn't see it all, but didn't they put words in his mouth? Didn't they start the conversation?
They mentioned the ball to him, right? They mentioned what they said to him about the ball. Oh, it's a different ball in the Carabao Cup, and so he started talking about the ball. Yeah, it feels different. It's a different touch on it. And I'm thinking, as soon as they mentioned the ball, why didn't you just say, "What's that got to do with it?" Newcastle played with the same ball and scored 2 goals.
I think you're being a bit
he scored 7 goals in the last 2 rounds with it. It's not to do with the ball. And he went on about the ball. Why did you go on about the ball?
No, I think you're being asked, Rich. I think he was asked about the ball, and he started saying, "Well, it's a different ball. We have to everyone has to get used to it." I don't remember him saying. I could be wrong. I don't think I am blaming the ball. I just think they asked him. And then he
didn't blame the ball. He was asked about the ball, and he talked about the ball as though it was an excuse, saying, "Well, it's a different ball. It doesn't feel the same." All this, which sounds like excuses. I'm not saying he did it as an excuse. It sounded like an excuse, and all he had to do was just say, "Newcastle just played with the same ball and scored 2 goals, so the ball's not relevant."
I know, but maybe
he saw it as an opportunity. I can use it as an excuse now. Oh, it was a wrong ball. It was the wrong weather. It was too cold. The dog wasn't there on the side of the pitch.
Well, even Fergie's used a stupid excuse. Remember they said it was the wrong colour shirts? Remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Fergie won 13 league titles.
I know, Richard.
So he can get away with excuses.
I know.
The other
Southampton.
The other
I
thing,
remember they got smashed, didn't they?
Southampton. The other point I want to make, talking about, okay, us guys, we're all of a certain generation, a certain era, and we talk about players that have got flair and stand up to Arteta and like a talisman, and the Cantonars of this world of go back further, stand bowls. Guess what? They don't exist in any football club anymore. There ain't no talisman. It ain't the 1970s or even the Charlie in the 80s. I just don't think the characters of these players, that most of them are in academies, right, from when they're 14. They wouldn't say boo to a goose. They're not down Ladbrokes at Shepherd's Bush Green like Stan Bowles used to be, or down Stringfellows like Charlie. It don't happen no more. So I kind of think I'm guilty of it as well. You kind of compare past eras, but these players have got their headphones on. They're looking at their phones. There ain't no standout person for me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being unfair personally. I don't know the personality.
Is Haaland not a big personality? Was Aubameyang not a big personality? These are like modern players. There are modern players out there that are like that.
Not many. I can't think of that many, Rich. I can't.
Haaland's a robot, Rich. He's a cyborg.
He's a cyborg. I couldn't see him give it. Go on.
Haaland couldn't play under Arteta. Absolutely no chance.
I don't know. Like I said, bottom line is, if you sat down and said, right, if it was me and Arteta in this room, I'd say, listen, Mikel, I've got this player here. He's called Richard Butler. Guess what? He'll get you 35 goals, but he's a right pain in the backside. He will drive you mad. So Arteta's going to go, right, I don't want to win the league. No, I don't want him league. You keep him. I think if it was me, I'd be going, right, I'll suffer it. I'll do my best with him, right? But ultimately, like Fergie did with Cantona, I'll take him, and he'll take me to the league title. I'm sure
Lee,
he would.
I don't want to play for Arteta. Lee, I don't want to play for Arteta. Don't send me there, please.
All right, okay. What about Spurs? They never win anything.
I'll go Spurs either. Can't I play for Nottingham Forest? I quite
Chris
like
Wood.
it.
People have suggested he wouldn't fit into our. We don't lump it up, do we? But anyway, any striker, 4 years, Mike. One of these scouts that I'm hoping are out there. I don't believe for a minute are gone. I could be completely wrong. Surely someone somewhere finds someone
I'll
to
give
put
you
the
the
ball in
reason
between
why.
those two white things. Yeah, that's all we want.
The reason why, because I think the game has changed and the way we recruit people has changed. And in that way, what they do, I think, I don't know for certain, but Edu and Arteta sit down and they look at the stats. They look at duels run. They look at, heat maps and that's how they deliberate, and then they come up with a list of players who have got those stats. I mean, Marino, for example, he was top of all the groups for duels, for heading, for scoring, and that's the way the modern managers and recruitment runs now. It's not having scouts traveling every day to a different football ground, watching players play. They sit with a laptop and they go through whether it's a defensive midfielder, whether it's someone who scores. And I think another thing, the reason why we haven't gone out in 4 years, to answer your question, to get an out-and-out striker, is because Arteta's thinking is he wants to spread the goals round. He's happiest when we've got several players on 6 or 7 goals, whether it's from midfield, whether it's from centre backs scoring corners, and even forwards, obviously contributing. He wants goals from all around, and I think what he's afraid of is having somebody like Haaland who can score 40 goals in a season, but no goals come from anywhere else. Haaland gets injured, and nobody's scoring goals.
Yeah,
and I think that's his thinking. That's where he comes
from.
If
it is, that's a flawed plan. That's what he's thinking.
Yeah.
We've got the same situation now with Saka, haven't we? Saka was a player that creates and scores everything, and now he's out of the team. We can't score for toffee, so we've got that situation anyway.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying. I think that's the reason.
Yeah. That's a fair. Yeah, it's a fair. What you're saying is fair.
Disappeared. Oh, he's back.
Oh, look, we changed spot. Oh.
I need to get back where we were, because otherwise it'll just confuse me.
I just think that we're a team that has got strengths, too many strengths in one area, and then we're weak in other areas. We're not with it. There's just no balance. At the end of the day, I don't think most fans would want to keep paying £90 or £100 to go to watch live games so we score 1 or 2 goals from a corner. It's not exciting. I mean, the corners and the set pieces are great to have, but they should be in addition to other stuff. Yeah, we should not be winning leagues relying on set pieces. I felt that was similar to yesterday. Again, it was I felt that we were more threatening on those particular passages of play rather than actually open play and running through the field, running with the ball and doing all of that nice stuff. That was pretty much non-existent. Yeah, we can't rely on one thing. And that just goes with everything. It's like what you guys are saying. I think, yes, there's an argument to say that he wouldn't want a Haaland 40-goal a season goal machine, because if he gets injured, then, that is trouble. But it's good to have that option as well as a few other players scoring.
In a tight game against Bayern Munich in a quarter-final of a Champions League or a last 16 match, when the game's tight and you get one chance, all of those players across the park Mike's just talked about, just sharing their 6 goals, their goal ratio, it's probably going to score 1 in 4, right? And that's it. Maybe 1 in 5. Ian Wright, 1 in 2. Robbie Fowler, 1 in 2. You have to have that, and you haven't got it. So when that chance comes along, you're at the bookies. You got a 20% chance of scoring. Ian Wright standing there, 50-50 going in the back of the net, and that's where it unravels. That spread the goals plan. Exactly. You're right. I think that's what he's doing. I think that's what he's doing, Mike. I think you're dead right. He's spreading the goals.
Also, I think what bothers me a little over the last few games is I mean, everybody, the media, other teams, fans, everyone are calling us a team that can only score from corners. But we had 10 corners against Tottenham, and we scored 1. So we're only getting 10% scoring from corners. And like you say, if we're not spreading goals around, we haven't got a strike, and the goals aren't being spread, and we're not even getting the percentages from corners, which I don't think we ever had.
Well, I saw a stat today. So we've scored the most goals from corners in the Premier League this season, which is 10. How many corners have we had? We must have had 1 million corners, and we've only scored 10 goals from them. So we're not that good at corners anyway.
Against Man United in the league, didn't we? I know we scored 1 or 2, but we had some like 16 at Old Trafford. That's a terrible conversion rate.
Yeah, it is a terrible conversion rate, and that is what we're relying on. And that's what we're relying on. So, you're right. We need that balance, absolutely. But we can't, and Neil said it right, we can't just rely on one thing and hope that's going to be enough. In some games, it has been enough, and it will be enough. But over a whole season, it's not going to be enough. I say we've scored 10 goals. How many goals have we scored in the league? 35, 40 maybe. So it's a quarter of our goals that come from corners, right? Only a quarter of them. So we need to find 3/4 from somewhere else. Yeah. Well, it's been more than that recently. Yeah, most of our goals have been from corners recently because we've stopped playing football.
Our ratios, I don't think our ratio's been good for a while. If we get 3 corners and score 1, that's brilliant. If we get 16 corners and score 1, that is not a good return.
No. But we need to chop it up. We need to be a bit more direct. Funny, I come home from the Newcastle game the other night, and somebody posted the 88 semi-final at Highbury, and Richard will remember this, and probably not, maybe you all will. The Everton game, Mickey Thomas, and I was at the game, Mickey Thomas, Rocastle, and the ground was, but you watched the football and how dynamic that team was. Thomas was 21, Rocastle 21. We broke, Perry Groves, Alan Smith, we broke so fast, and it was so exciting. We battered a great Everton side, right? I mean, just on the back of them winning.
They were league champions. Right? They were reigning league champions.
85 and 87. Yeah, absolutely.
We absolutely did that. That was one of the greatest nights I've ever been to at Highbury. That was just unreal. That semi-final.
It was brilliant, and maybe we need a bit more of that. Maybe a bit of that throughout the game. I mean, in patches, something different, a bit of unpredictability rather than the side-to-side bit. I don't know.
I mean, talking to George Graham, and people remember George Graham maybe for the final years of his management when it was a bit boring, forgetting at the beginning, the first 2 or 3 seasons, it was unreal, wasn't it? It was exciting football. We were unbelievable, scoring hundreds of goals. But what this season under Mikel Arteta, it reminds me quite a lot of the end bit of George Graham when he was replacing skillful attacking players with defensive players. He was playing defenders in midfield. Steve Morrow and Martin Keown were playing in midfield. And that's what this reminds me of now. It looks as though, we had a couple of seasons where we scored a lot of goals. It was a bit more free-flowing. We were creating a lot more in open play. And now we've regressed to this scared to lose tactics that George Graham adopted towards the end of his time. And that's what this reminds me of. But George Graham had 6 trophies in the bank, as Neil mentioned. Mikel Arteta's got nothing in the bank. So he can't get away with this. For me, he cannot get away with this. He cannot. He's got nothing to back it up. And you're not going to win trophies playing like that. George Graham won the odd cup because he had Ian Wright, as you said, Lee. Ian Wright could nick you a goal. We'd win 1-0. We'd play absolute crap. We'd stick everyone behind the ball. It'd be boring. And then Ian Wright would nick a goal and we'd win 1-0. We haven't got an Ian Wright to nick a goal. So we're never going to win stuff with this group of players playing the way we're playing this season. We're not going to. We've proved it already. We're out of 2 cups in a week. We're not going to win the Champions Cup. No one in the Champions League has watched us this season for, oh my God, I hope we don't draw against Arsenal. Everyone in that competition is thinking, please let us draw Arsenal. They're the weakest team in it.
But also, I think with the Arteta's players now, when he looks at anybody, has to have an element in their game of playing and defending. If you look at everybody, even now, he's got Martinelli. When Martinelli first came on the scene, you said he was fresh, he was chasing everything. And Arteta was saying, no, he's still got a lot to learn. He's not quite doing what we want him to do. And now he is doing what Arteta wants him to do. And you'll find he regularly turns up in our box, making a tackle, clearing the ball.
That's not where you want him.
Player. And
that's not where you want him.
A sidebar to that, I think you were saying about egos before. I think the reason that Ozil was frozen out wasn't because of egos. I think it was because he wasn't a defensively minded player.
He wasn't.
And he was a gifted player. He wanted to progress and play forward.
But you don't need 11 defensively minded players, do you?
And he didn't.
Yeah,
and that's
you're
why
right.
he was out.
But you don't need 11 defensive players in your team, do you? You need 6 or 7 who
I'm just
defensively
saying
switch
that's what-
on, and you need,
Mark,
you need
yeah.
the rest
Well,
of them don't need to
Arteta, maybe you do, because he wants everybody defending.
Mike's making a really good point. I think Arteta probably gets more joy keeping a clean sheet than anything else. His aim is to make sure we are, because I can see caution in his game. I think you're absolutely right,
Yeah.
Mike. I think he's fearful of letting in that goal. For him, the ultimate result is to have a 0 by our name at the end of the game. That is brilliant, because that was George Graham's fundamental starting point. That is, it's his foundation work, which is fantastic. But then you have to develop and go beyond that to then actually, because football at the end of the day, Lee said it right. He said, what are we all watching it for? We want to see a good football. We're not necessarily trophy hunters. I'm not saying that we're trophy hunters, but we want to see great performances coming from a good team, a set of players that have that little bit of freedom as well. You've got to have structure too. Don't get me wrong. It's about going back to balance. Arteta is doing the right thing in that respect, because there's got to be structure. You've got to have structure. The players are going to be all over the place. You're not going to have any shape on the pitch, right? You're not going to have any shape on the pitch, which obviously then makes us defensively weak. But what I say is that you have a little bit of balance where you have that structure, and then you do have maybe those 1 or 2 flair players that are allowed to express their freedom.
Yes,
and you can do that, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But and yes, you have the great defense, but then you have to have the forward play as well. And I'm not talking about blooming free kicks and corners. So we're missing that part of the game at the moment.
Well, we got Odegaard, haven't we? Obviously, he's basically got a free reign. Maybe we need another type of player similar to him.
Well, we used to call it a luxury player.
Yeah, fluffy player. We used to call it. Someone who's a bit fluffy.
You don't get luxuries with Mikel Arteta, though, do you? You don't get luxuries at all. The luxuries don't exist in his world. They don't. And some people will say that's a good thing, because everything's so structured. And as Neil said, you need to have structure. And the one thing Mikel Arteta has improved 100% is how we play without the ball. As soon as we lose possession, everybody's straight back into their position straight away, and it's really good to see that, and I like that. But what happens then is when we do get the possession back, it's then we're not then so keen on not everybody charging forward, but we're not so keen on taking risks going forward to create something out of the ordinary, and that's where you're right, Neil. That's where it breaks down, and I think as fans, we want to be we want to win games, and it's all very well winning 1-0 to the Arsenal, that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's all well and good, but you want to be entertained, and you want to see something that's going to get you off your seat, get you excited, and players that you want to. I mean, we haven't had a player probably since Alexis Sanchez, really, that was a sort of player that took your breath away sometimes with what they did on the pitch. It was like, wow. And okay, we only won. We won 2 FA Cups with Sanchez in the team. So it wasn't a bad spell, I suppose. But, if we had a player like that now in this team, that could be the difference between us maybe finishing second or third again and actually really pushing Liverpool. And, because Liverpool have got 2 or 3 of those type of players, haven't they? Let's be honest. They've got Salah who can do it. They've got Diaz, who's a little bit different. They've got Nunes, Jota. They've got a lot of players who can perform that. We haven't got any.
Yeah, they've got 4. Yeah, we definitely need a sprinkle of what they've got up front, and they've got. I mean, if I'm Jota, I'm sitting on the bench. I'm thinking, every time he comes on, that man changes the game, doesn't he, Joe? He's unbelievable football. Every time he comes on, play our place, he scores or creates. Brilliant.
Who have we got? Who have we got that can change
we have
the game?
No game changers at all. Not really.
Nobody.
Right,
Nobody.
Not like that. Not like that.
Alexis Sanchez was the last one.
Saka's probably the only one now.
Yeah, Saka. Yeah. I guess
or
so.
Saka's a game changer.
On a hot streak.
I don't think Saka's a game changer. Saka is our main man, isn't he? But he's not. He never comes off the bench to change the game because he's always starting and he's always playing.
True.
What you need to have, you look at our bench virtually every single game. Look at our bench, and I always look down at it and thinking, if we lose in this game, who's going to come on and change it? Nobody. There's no one on there who can do that. Sometimes you think Trossard's the only one, but Trossard hasn't done it enough. Trossard doesn't do it enough, and he's the only one that we've got. We're bringing on Zinchenko. We're losing 1-0 to Newcastle. We're bringing on Zinchenko. We're bringing on Mikel Marino. These are the players on the bench that's going to make a difference. They're not making a difference.
No.
They're not game changers.
Couple of
Where
extra
are
players.
our game changers? That's what we need. That's the biggest thing we need in January and in the summer is game
A
changers.
game changer.
It's all good
Striker
though.
and
The last
changer.
game changer we had, we swapped him for Mkhitaryan. It's all good, man. That's brilliant business.
Guys, I need to go. I need to drop Rich, unfortunately, because I'm.
All right, Lee.
Okay,
I need
mate.
to get
No
moving.
problem.
So I've really enjoyed it.
Pleasure.
Good chatting
Good
with
to
you
see you,
all.
Lee.
Have a good evening. Yeah, take it easy. Yeah, cheers.
Nice to see you, Lee.
Bye, bye. I'm gonna have to go soon as well, Rich, but I'll stay on for a couple more minutes.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, that's maybe the biggest frustration for me is that we don't have game changers on the bench. That even in the dark days, if we want to call it, of Arsene Wenger, we still had players on the bench. Theo Walcott would come off the bench and he could score a goal, make something happen. You know, we had players like that, didn't we?
Eduardo Silva.
Amazing. Even Nicholas Bentner came off the bench and got goals, didn't he? He did. Do you know what I mean?
Lord
Bentner.
Lord, of course, yeah, the Lord, absolutely, the Lord Bentner. But yeah, I mean, if we just had two players like that now, it would make a massive difference, wouldn't it? In some of these games that we're not getting anywhere, it's not working, we're not creating much, we're just sideways, nothing's happening, we might be losing. And even if we're playing well and we're losing, like we were against Newcastle, no one could come off the bench and change the game. We didn't have anybody. We haven't got anybody. And if nothing else, even if we don't buy this lovely, shiny centre forward who's going to score 100 goals a season, right? Even if we don't buy them in January, because you're right, there isn't maybe that many about. Probably not, right? Let's at least buy two players that we can put on the bench that can change a game, are capable of changing the game, and that will do us. That will surely do us. Whether it's enough to win us the league, I don't know. Whether it's enough to win us the Champions League, probably not. But at least it's going to give us something to cling on to in those sort of games where it's going against us or we need a goal. Look to the bench and let's be excited by someone we can bring on. Okay, Ethan Nwaneri was one before he got injured that could maybe. Still young, we can't rely on him to change a game all the time. But we need 2 or 3 players like that, don't we? That can do something out of the ordinary and get us a goal from nothing. And that's the one thing that's really frustrating. Really frustrating.
If we did acquire any game changers and stuff like that, they'd be in the starting 11 first of all. I think because we haven't got anybody now, like we've just said, that too many people score goals, and we haven't got anybody who you can think is going to bang 50% in, like Ian Wright.
No, but even though
they're going to be starters off the bench, I think
you're right.
Trossard is the only one, because I've got this thing in my head that Trossard is great off the bench and he plays well because he's determined. He wants to make a difference. He wants to shine. But when he starts, he scored the goal last night, but generally, when he starts, he doesn't have an impact and he doesn't do things as well as he does when he comes on with half an hour to go. And that's where I'd like to see the stat that he scores more goals as a substitute than when he's played 90 minutes.
Yeah, no, you're right. He does. For me, one of the players that could maybe have an impact from the bench would be Kai Havertz, because he offers something a little bit different than the other strike. And if we had someone else who I know Gabriel Jesus before he got injured had sort of started to score a few goals, and maybe then Havertz was on the bench a few games, and at least Havertz on the bench is, I'm not saying he's a game changer necessarily, but at least he brings something different.
Yeah, like Giroud used to do. Giroud used to do exactly that.
Yeah.
Giroud was very effective.
I always liked Giroud.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah,
I was really upset when he left. It was.
I loved Giroud.
I thought he was a tremendous. And look at his record. I mean, it's incredible what he's achieved. If you look at his success in terms of what he's won, it's unbelievable.
Forward we have.
He scored 300 odd career goals. He's
unbelievable.
He's scored a lot of goals.
I don't know why people dislike him. But why did people dislike him so much? I've never got it. And you think about it, all the goals he used to score were pretty decent. They were all special goals. They weren't like the bog standard goals. Well, they were all special goals.
I think the reason why he wasn't maybe generally taken by the fans is because this was the Arsene Wenger time when we were used to centre forward or forward players like Sanchez and obviously Henry before and Bergkamp, and he wasn't as good as them, but he was effective at what he did. Absolutely. And it was a change of style, and I think maybe a few of the fans couldn't get their head around why have we got this big lump up front. But I thought Giroud was fantastic from the day we signed him. I loved him.
Great target man as well, and he used to really hold the ball up really effectively.
Touch on the ball was incredible. The
two goals we used to score were just insane. Unbelievable.
He's one of our most underrated players we've ever had. Even Theo Walcott. him and Theo Walcott were two of the most underrated players because I thought they were both really, really good. You know, they both scored over 100 goals for Arsenal, and you know they're in that elite group of players. There isn't many that have scored 100 goals for Arsenal, and those two are both in it, and yet they never got the credit that I felt both of them deserved. Walcott was always criticised, like headless chicken, all this, that, and the other, right? But he was our best finisher for a spell at the club.
I think
one-on-one.
I think he was unfortunate because I think everyone just believed he's the next Henry, and there's no way going to be. No one's going to build it.
Yeah, I think so.
No one is going to build it. Everyone thought he's. Do you remember that? I remember that a game against Chelsea. It was the League Cup final, and he scored. I think we took the lead with a young, literally a bunch of kids, and he looked at the stadium where Henry was sitting, and so it's almost like trying to get his, approval. Like, look, I did it.
Yeah,
and that was literally. I think that was all wrong. I think the approach with him was all wrong. He wasn't an Henry replacement. He was his own player, and I think he should be developed as his own player. And I think that's what put undue pressure on him as well. Because there was a period where he was unbelievable, and then he got injured. It was a 2-0 game against Tottenham, wasn't it? And he was doing the sign. But leading up to that, he was firing. He was on banging form. And I think that injury set him back as well. I think he's just been unlucky. And you know what? All those pundits out there these days, God, I can't stand probably 95% of them. Yeah, he's really nice to listen to. And you listen to it. He's a lovely chap. I really like him.
No, I love Theo Walcott. I loved him as a player. I'll never forget. There was one game we went to. I think it was when Blackpool were in the Premier League that season, right? And we were queuing up to get in the ground. And while we were queuing, there was I think the turnstiles were broke or something. It was outside, and they was announcing the team through the tannoy out on the stadium, right? And Theo Walcott was on the bench. And there was a load of people. They announced the team, and then they announced Theo Walcott on the bench. And a load of these people were sort of cheering. Oh, God, I'm glad he's not in the team, because I think he'd been starting a few games before, and then he was on the bench. And they was all saying, "Oh, brilliant news that Theo Walcott's on the bench." And I'm like, "You watch, he's going to come on and he'll change the game." I think we were 2-1 up, and he came on, set up the third goal for Van Persie. It was brilliant. And I'm thinking, that is what he can do. That is what he can do. And no one appreciated him. And I don't even think Van Persie was that much appreciated, And he was a world-class player.
He was brilliant. I loved him. He was brilliant. I know he left it leave on the best of terms, but when he was with the stuff that he used to do, God, that goal against, was it Charlton, when he was assisted by
it
was a brilliant ball, wasn't it?
Goal of the season.
What a goal
that was unreal.
He was a good one at Everton as well.
Yeah, that's it.
From over his head, really tight corner. I just walked out the ground that day. I'd given up because it was injury time. I'd gone out.
It was injury time.
I missed it.
And I heard the roar, and I thought, bloody hell. Missed.
See, never go home early. Never go home early.
I rarely do. Sometimes away I do, just to get to my car.
I admit I did leave 5 minutes early against Newcastle the other night. We were so...
Neil, that's terrible. How dare you?
I know. But I thought, do you know what? I'm not going to then get caught and be stuck in this cold after watching that. I thought I just want to try and beat the rush and get on the train.
The only game I remember going home early from was when we lost 4-0 to Man United in the FA Cup at Old Trafford, probably 2008 or something like that. We were 4-0 down after about 50 minutes. And it got to midway through the second half, and I'm like, you know what, I've actually had enough of this. And so we went. But that's the only time I can actually remember leaving a game early. But I thought 4-0 down in the FA Cup was probably okay to do that, maybe.
Well, actually, half time, our end virtually cleared at Old Trafford. I think that was the game I went.
Even the 8-2, I stayed till the end. Oh, that was brilliant, that 8-2. I loved it. The atmosphere was just incredible. And the result was awful, but it was nice to be a part of history. Arsenal's biggest ever Premier League defeat. I was hoping that Man U were going to score 10 because it hadn't happened before. Please score 10. No one scored 10 in the Premier League against Arsenal. I'd have loved to have seen it. And in the end, they scored 8 with about 2 minutes to go. I'm like, go on, get another goal. Because we'd already lost. It didn't matter. It didn't happen. But, sometimes you can, I don't know, winning's great, of course it is. Winning trophies is what we all want to see, and we enjoy those moments. But sometimes in adversity, that's when you can actually get some sort of, I don't know, some weird sort of pleasure out of it. I don't know.
I put that game down to us signing Arteta, because after we got stuff like that, he went he had a bit of a panic.
Right, we bought him the next day, didn't we?
He went out and he bought Arteta and a few others.
Oh, wow.
Never forgive him for that.
We had no choice because they battered us, and we looked 8 goals worse than them. But
the thing was, though, There was a spell in that game in the first half in particular where we played pretty well, and I remember I think we had a penalty to go 1-0 up, and Van Persie missed it, funnily enough, and then somehow they had 3 shots and scored 3 goals, and we're 3-0 down. Thinking, how are we 3-0 down? And then Walcott scored before half time, and then we had another chance, could have made it 3-2 at half time.
Could have been very different.
We're in this game, and then obviously the second half came round, and we just completely fell to bits. But in a way, it was kind of. It still that will never leave me. That game, the atmosphere was fantastic. The whole of the second half, we were singing, and it was just brilliant. And the goals were flying in front of us. It was the ending at our end. All the goals were flying in from Man United. Rooney was chipping them in and curling them in, and Nani was scoring, whoever it was. And it was it was just one of them games that you just never forget, even though the result was obviously horrible. But I didn't even actually mind it. Even, we were walking back to the car and the Man United fans were taking the piss out of us and this, that, and the other. And I just thought, well, so what? You know what I mean? We've just sat there for 90 minutes watching that, and we've sung the whole of the second half. And it was absolutely brilliant. And I loved that game. And I know people will think that I'm mad losing 8-2, but I absolutely loved that game. It's one of my favourite ever games I've been to, just for the atmosphere and the whole, it's not often as Arsenal fans we've been in situations like that, when it's things have gone that badly. It's very, very rare when you look at our history, certainly in our lifetimes, it's very rare, isn't it? So to witness that was actually quite special. It's quite a special moment in a way. I know it sounds really weird, but it's a bit of history, wasn't it? Because our biggest ever, I don't think we conceded 8 goals in the top flight game.
No, I don't think so.
80 years or something like that. It was incredible to witness that history. Was actually something quite special, even though it was horrible. It was actually some sort of enjoyment from being there. It was incredible. But yeah, I mean, we've
but that's the frustrating. That's what I was asking earlier. When's the last one we really battered one of the big teams? Because we had so much of that happen to us. 5-1s and 6-0s and the 8-2s. And when have we? And you know what? The frustrating thing is, we have so many times, and not just recently with Arteta's teams. So many times we have actually, and this is the thing that really annoys me. They go on about this stat. The stats really get on my nerves about the domination and the XG and all of that stuff. It's meaningless if you don't put the ball in the net. It's utterly meaningless. It means nothing. And there have been so many times where we have played the bigger teams. We've had the dominance and we've had the chances, but we just can't put it in the net. And if we had that, we could have done some of those 6-0s and 7-1s and 8-2s. I'm sure we could have done it. But we just not had the finishes that those teams had, and that's the. I think that's more frustrating than anything else. I think so many seasons. I'm sure you guys have felt it. We feel that we're like one or two players short of completing the puzzle, and getting over the line and being something.
And we still are, Neil, and we still are.
But why is it every season that
5 years in, 5 years in, 800 million, Neil, 800 million, 5 years, and we're still 2 or 3 players short?
It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I think that's so frustrating. It's like we sell our best player, one of our best players, to Man United for 20 million, and they go and win the league next season. I mean, it's stuff like that really boils me. It's just like, what are you doing? Because I think we could have probably won the league if we'd kept down the season. And you think as well, we had that couple of seasons where we had Ozil and Sanchez linking up, right? And they were brilliant, right? They were brilliant together,
Giroud was there scoring goals. We still had Walcott in the team, Santi Cazorla, right? We had the basis of a team. And again, that season that Leicester won the league, we were 2 players short of winning that league that season with that team. And
every season, same thing.
And that's what is. You're right. That is the biggest frustration, really, because I don't really. If we're miles away from winning anything, it doesn't matter too much, because you think, well, it doesn't matter. We're miles away anyway. We've got no chance. But when you're that close, and you know that maybe 1 or 2 different decisions a year or 2 before could have made a massive difference. That's what makes it even. And I remember the last 2 years have been so frustrating for that reason, because we have been, although we were close last year, we were a little bit further away the season before, but we were only a couple of players away from winning 2 league titles. And everyone said, "Oh, Man City, this Man City team won it 4 in a row." Yeah, but it was in our hands twice, and we just didn't have the squad depth. We were lacking a couple of players to get it over the line, and that is worse. That to me is worse than finishing 5th and being miles away. I'd rather finish 5th and be miles away than get that close and knowing that it was in our hands and we threw it away. That's worse for me than being miles away. It's just I don't like that, because we should have won 2 league titles in a row. We should be going for a hat trick this season, and We should be, shouldn't we? Let's be honest.
Yeah, when you put it like that, I didn't even think of it. And actually, we're second. We're second at the moment. That's crazy.
Well, we're second at the moment. Yeah, but you see, people have been saying, and I've seen a lot of stuff on because we're 4 points behind Liverpool. Yes,
no. I'm not saying that. That's a good thing. It's like because it's papering over the cracks and it's really hiding the problem. You know, at the end of the day, the reason why we're second is teams like Man City have capitulated completely and utterly. You know, they were anything like even 50% of what they were last season. I'm sure we'd be third or fourth. I'm pretty sure of it because we haven't been playing great, have we? To be honest.
No. And this is the thing, and I've seen a lot of people today, particularly because we beat Tottenham and we're 4 points behind. People said, "Oh, the title's not over." No, mathematically, the title's not over, but we've seen Arsenal teams. We've been lucky enough to see Arsenal teams that have won the league. Right, different Arsenal teams to win the league, and there was always something about those teams that you could see they had title winners written inside them before we won the league. This team's got no chance of winning the league. I watch them play, and there's nothing that shows me they've got even a chance of winning the league. I don't care even if we were top of the league now, I'd be saying the same thing. We were top of the league under Wenger 4, 5, 6 seasons in a row at Christmas, and nobody thought we'd win the league. Because we had the flaws that were obvious. This team's got flaws that are obvious. We are not going to win the league. And let's just get real. Let's understand we're not going to win the league. And just, you know, we're out of the title race in November, I thought, regardless of the points difference. I don't think this team's nowhere near good enough. This isn't a Premier League winning team. Look at Man City. Look how good their team's been for 4 years. Look at this Liverpool team. They're miles better than us. Miles better than us. Do you know what I mean? They are. And even if we take it down to later on, I don't think we'll. I think we'll fall away unless we have a really good couple of weeks in the transfer window. We're going to fall away. You know, we're battling for top 4 realistically, aren't we? With our squad of players, the way we're playing.
Realistically, yes, at the moment.
Yeah,
especially if you don't sign anyone. Definitely battling for top.
Oh, if you don't sign anyone, I don't even think top 4 could be a struggle. Look at Newcastle, what they're doing.
Yeah,
they're Forest got nothing else to play for other than the top 4.
Yeah, there's that as well.
Man City are going to come good. We know they are. They did it last year. They lost loads of games around Christmas time, and they won 15 in a row. They could win 15 in a row again.
They're capable of winning every game.
Liverpool, Man City, Forest, and Newcastle. That could be the top 4. We might not even be in it. We might not even be in it. That's winning the league. No chance.
Come on, let's sharp reach. Let's Mike have a chance. Bless him.
No, I'm just agreeing with you, and I think we are a couple of players short, and I think we have been pretty much all the way through Arteta's reign. I'm thinking maybe third. I've said for the last three years that we'll finish third, because like I say, City are very capable of winning every game to the end of the season because they've done it. They've done it before, and they haven't changed personnel, so there's no reason to think they can't do it again.
Sure.
Liverpool don't look like they're gonna. I'm hoping what we can hope for with them, I think, is that they draw games. I can't see them losing many.
Yes,
but it's possible because that's been. I think our problem has been with the games we've drawn, and you'll probably disagree with this, but I think we've been unlucky with referees.
Oh, 100%.
And you know, Arsenal are always moaning and always everybody's against them. But I really think we've dropped points from Brighton for the referee. We dropped them against. We had the game won against Man City.
No. We dropped points against Brighton because Arteta couldn't manage the game with 10 men. We were 1-0 up. He couldn't manage the game. Man United beat us with 10 men. If you manage the game properly, you still win the game. He couldn't manage with 10 men.
I agree with that statement. But we had the game won. The referee.
No, we didn't. We didn't have it won. We were 1-0 up with 40 minutes to play. We didn't have it won. We needed to manage the game.
Right. No, I think to be fair to Mike, no, Rich, what he's saying is that was such a stupid decision. You can talk about letter of the law, but how many other times has that been exercised after that?
No, it's not the letter of the law.
He didn't boot the ball away. It just almost deviated from his foot. It's not like interrupting.
Well, he did kick it. He did kick it away from him.
Yeah, look, if he kicked it
halfway down the ground, the ball was rolled in between his legs.
I think that even the Trossard decision in the other game against it was Man City, wasn't it? We were flying and then we were set up. Look. I think the player. I don't know. Maybe this is where me and Rich are going to really disagree. I do feel that we get a real brunt of bad decisions. I think there is something there, and I will say this.
I agree.
I think it's factual, Rich. I mean, I might be.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
right.
I agree with you.
But there's a caveat in this. The team and the players probably know that as well. If we know it, they're going to know it. They're in the mix. They're in the thick of it, aren't they? Right. So they shouldn't be giving the referees any excuse at all. It doesn't matter if it means that, I know emotions are a big thing in football. Of course it is. That's why we love the game. That's what you guys were talking about earlier, that we get passionate and you want to see exciting football, get you off the seat. That is what football's all about. And maybe the players get involved in that and they get caught up in the moment. But when you know that time after time, Arsenal get these most unbelievable decisions, which are never then repeated again, never again to other clubs, because I see the same things happening with other clubs and no, there's no cards or whatever, right? But it's so whether it's the wrong shirt, the wrong badge, I don't know what it is. But if the players know that, then act accordingly. Don't give the referee any excuses at all.
I don't think you can necessarily play the game like that. You have to play your own game and you can't worry about the referee. But what you can't do is, if we have a bad decision go against us and there's still 50 minutes of the game left, 40 minutes of the game left, we've got to manage the game better. We can't
I said that at the top of the show, the management, the game management.
And I don't. Referees do not decide games. The players on the pitch decide games with their decisions that they make constantly throughout the game. A referee doesn't win or lose a game for anybody. They make bad decisions and they make terrible decisions, and that's pretty much where they are. But they don't decide games.
The outcome, though.
But it does make it harder, Rich. Look, I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. But when you're playing a team like Manchester City and you're down to 10 men, I mean, we actually did really well to hold on until the very last, literally, kick of the ball, and they equalised.
But come on, Neil, you know as I was watching that game, right? As soon as we went down to 10 men, everybody was behind the ball. We had no outlet at all. And it was obvious that you can't do that and expect to hold on for that long in the game. You can't, it's impossible. And it was obvious Man City would score. I was just amazed it took them as long as it did. And that was down to sort of bad luck on their part a lot of the time, deflections here and there and the ball flying about and them not doing what we do, pass instead of shoot more. But in the end, it's like you cannot hang on like that. You've got to manage the game, but you've got to keep possession of the ball better than we did. It's almost like we just sat back and invited a we did the same against Brighton when Declan Rice got sent off. We just said we're just going to sit back because we were winning, and you can't.
Yeah, that I agree with. The tactics were probably wrong, but it's not. But it is. I think in the days of Wenger, when actually, if you remember, because we used to get so many sending offs, especially Vieira, we actually played better with 10 men sometimes. So we managed it brilliantly. I know, we beat them. I know, it was amazing.
I can't remember who got sent off now. Someone got sent off in the first half.
Yeah.
And we ended up beating them 2-1.
We won 2-1. Fantastic. Amazing.
Yeah.
Wenger was a specialist at it. I mean, I just used to say, why don't we just start every game with 10 men? Because we played even better with 10 men.
Right.
But
Van Bronckhorst.
But I think
it was Van Bronckhorst. It was Van Bronckhorst got sent off. That's right.
But I think now the way Arteta's got this team, it's so finely tuned that he take one tiny little thing away and that's it. Done. Game over. And I think so. I agree with you on that. I do.
And I think, Neil, that's why the referee decisions against us seem to be more important.
Amplified.
Amplified. Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah, they do. Then we have other teams because it completely disrupts our whole game plan completely, and we've got no way of changing it. And I think it affects us more because we allow it to affect us more. The decisions aren't. I've seen terrible decisions in like Wolves, for example. How many bad decisions have they had against them, penalties and stuff like that, right? And I look at the teams and that they get just as bad decisions, but it doesn't seem to throw their complete game off like it does with us. And it happens time and time again with us. And I'm not saying the referees are great, and we've had some terrible decisions that's gone against us. Absolutely terrible decisions, right? And this has been a theme for a long, long time. But ultimately, we've got to when that's happened, we can't let it take over and control us, which it does. We've got to overcome it somehow. And I know it's not always easy, but we've played into the hands of the decision too many times, particularly under this manager. The fact that he came out and said, well, I can't remember which game it was now. He said, how can you win a Premier League game with 10 men? You can't be expected to win. Well, other teams do it.
You shouldn't be saying that. No, you shouldn't be saying that. No,
he shouldn't be saying that because he shouldn't.
No.
And to me, he
sends the wrong
himself
signal to everyone.
Yeah.
That's not. It's not. It doesn't just become fair game for the media and all the social media people, but it sends a wrong message out to the team. I think it's the wrong thing to say. I agree with that. I think. Look, I want to end on I need to get going, so I'm going to end on a positive. At the end of the day, no matter how we played and how we did it, we managed to beat Tottenham, which is always amazing. The best feeling in the world to beat them. Look, I was still screaming. It doesn't matter if the goalkeeper let in a weak Trossard shot, he could have done better. I went absolutely ballistic when that ball.
I did
because it's Tottenham. Come on, guys, yeah, it's Tottenham. And we've got a tough one against Emery on the weekend. And I know it's hard at the moment. You know, we've got so many injuries. Things have not been going well this season. But I want to stay positive. I think we could follow up. I think maybe that Tottenham game or that win may have been more important, just more so than just the 3 points. I think it might have given the players a bit of a kick up the backside, saying, you know what, we've got some of our best players out, but we still managed to beat Tottenham. All right, doesn't matter how they are or how they played, we still beat Tottenham. It's still a North London derby. We beat them and we've done the double over them. So let's not forget that. So I think it might G up some of the players, and if it does, and somehow we get another win, and we do get a win on Saturday, and Liverpool drop points again. At least it's putting a little bit of pressure on that. I know it's not the ideal scenario because we haven't been playing our best and whatnot, but it's still nice to see, and it's nice to be part of that, I guess. So I think we're going to win on Saturday. We better, because I'm bloody going, so we better win. I think we'll get a win. I think just simply, if we'd lost to Tottenham, I think I'd be saying something different. But I think the Tottenham win is.
Well, I think if we'd lost to Tottenham, we would be looking at getting a different manager right now. Honestly, I don't think he could survive.
But they're not going to. We've had this discussion, Rich. They are not getting rid of him. This board is not.
What's it going to take then, Neil? What's it going to take?
I don't know. Do you really believe? Do you really believe they're going to get rid of him? Because I think that Josh is quite pally with Arteta. I think that's one of the reasons why Edu's gone. I think there's more to the Edu story than meets the eye. I think Edu probably wanted to do certain things maybe in a way that might have been actually from our point of view better. And Arteta I think the Mourinho signing might have had a lot to do with it, because I don't think Edu necessarily wanted Mourinho, and Arteta did. And I think there was some angst between all of that, because everything seemed fine.
Who do you think wanted Sterling?
Yeah, exactly.
Who wanted him? Who wanted him? Edu or Mikel? Who do you think wanted Sterling?
I think it was a panic buy because we had no one else.
Well,
no other strikers. I think that's what it was, because we had gone that whole summer where everyone expecting us to buy a striker and we didn't, and I think that was almost like, well, okay, we got him, so your fans can shut up now. I think it was one of those. And we haven't really used him.
Who made the decision to get him there? Was it Edu or was it Mikel?
I wouldn't know that, Rich. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I don't know. Some of me thinks it might be Mikel because he worked with him before, but then he's hardly played him. So I'm thinking, was that not an Edu decision that's caused a rift between them?
Right, I get
but I honestly don't know. Whoever made that decision should be fired anyway, because he's awful. He was awful before he joined us, and last night you could see how on earth is he good enough to be playing for Arsenal? He's terrible. He can't run. He can't take anybody on. He's just crap. What on earth is he doing at Arsenal? Chelsea don't want him. You know what I mean? What makes anybody think if he's not good enough for Chelsea, he'd be good enough for us? What on earth made anybody think that was? He's like 32 years old or something. He was at his peak years about 5 years ago at Man City.
Yeah, he's well past. He's lost so much pace.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, what's that all about? Whoever made that decision, I don't care who it was. They don't deserve to be staying still at Arsenal.
Arteta's on record saying that when this deal looked like coming through, Arteta phoned him. And he's on record saying within a minute of talking to him, he knew he wanted to sign him, because he'd come out and said, yeah, I've got a lot to prove. There's still blah, 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 blah. So it's obviously Arteta must have phoned him and then said, right, I want this guy. And
so Edu's probably thought, you know what, that's probably the final straw. Edu's probably looked at it and thought, you know what, I can't work with this clown. I cannot work with him.
It could be quite possible, Rich, because I think it was that if that's true, Mike, and then you got the Mourinho thing. I think Edu was looking at a different kind of vision, and he just said, you know what, I can't work here. I can't work here. So
it's not, isn't it? He's got a Nottingham Forest. Look how they're doing.
It's very true. Look, I mean, to be honest with you, it's all with hindsight and all with speculation and all the rest of it. We don't know. We're not flies on the wall, but sometimes you can read between the lines a little bit, and you can kind of see things. And I don't know. I don't think it was a simple case of Edu wants, because the way he came across, he really wanted it to work here. He really wanted to him and with Arsenal for sure. I mean, he was so. I mean, remember his early interviews. He was so enamoured with being part of this. being part of the Invincibles and then coming back here. I think he wanted to prove a point as well, and to himself maybe. And then all of a sudden, it just as a shock, he's gone. It's not even as if. But you get other sporting directors that say that we're deciding to call it a day, but then they still carry it through till the end of the season. This was so dramatically cut short and dead. It's like, I'm gone, and he's out. He's literally like packing his things from his desk probably and gone the next day. It's really crazy. So I think something big has gone down there. There's something, and all right, if they've covered it up, fair play. But I just it didn't make sense. And you're right. Look, he's gone to Forest, and look at them now. They're flying at the minute. They're doing really well. Look, I think we're going to win on Saturday. So come on, Arsenal, let's do that. But look, Mike, it's been lovely to meet you. Thank you to all the lovely comments in the chat. I don't think you've had a chance to bring them up yet, Rich, but
we'll
always
brilliant.
And Rich, as always, thank you, my friend. Hopefully we do a few more of these before the season ends.
Absolutely, we definitely will.
All right, but I know it takes a lot of your time and it's an effort thing. So appreciation to you as well, because I don't think some people really understand that. You're busy, you're working, then you got to do this. So yeah, thank you for that. Really appreciate it, Rich.
No, it's always a pleasure, my friend. It's always great to get you. It's great to see Lee again as well, and we have to get all together again a little bit more often. I know I keep saying it is finding the time. It's tough, but so many games you see now with Champions League games and midweek games, and there's just so much going on out there. It's difficult to keep the track of it. But we'll get it all sorted.
Definitely. We'll right. Adios, chaps. Take care, everyone in the chat as well. All the best. See you soon. Bye.
See you later, Neil. Take it easy, my friend. Take it easy. There's Neil, the absolute legend of the channel. Neil's right. There's been a lot of comments actually. We kind of got involved in the conversation. We haven't really managed to get through them all. Let's have a look and see if there's anything that we need to talk about here. Terry says there, Gabby had the right idea. He broke the ice. Oh yeah, he did Marino's shoulder, didn't he, in training? That's right. Greg says dictatorship never works. No, it doesn't. You're absolutely right. Where are we here? Greg says, poor Win the dog. They should be reported to RSPCA. Well, just change his name. He shouldn't be called Win anymore, should he? He should be called, I don't know what he should be called. Terry says, the last time 29 had a good game was in 2016 when he played for Bayer Leverkusen. Well, I think he's had the odd good game for us, let's be fair. But yeah, he's not what we need. Terry says, Arteta moaned about the ball, but the 2 games before we lost, we scored 11 goals. Yeah, exactly. I mentioned that before. Yeah. Anne just dropped in as well. How you doing, Ange? Good to see you.
Hello, Ange. Good evening.
She said it's a mad day, but chilling now. Yeah, get your feet up and have a cup of tea. That's what you need, don't you? That's all you need to worry about, really. Ange says there, I can't be asked with the men as Arsenal bring on. So yeah, the women are playing on Sunday. Of course, looking forward to that one. Yeah. Greg says the game might have changed, but it still remains goals win games. Exactly. Yeah, goals do win games. Exactly. Yeah, you can have 70% possession if you don't score, and all this XG doesn't matter how many chances you have, how many goals you should have scored. What matters is how many goals did you score, and how many goals did the opposition score. That's all that matters. The rest of it's nonsense, and I don't know why we focus so much on it, because it's. I mean, a waste of time, isn't it? Ange B says, looking forward to the game. Yeah, we're looking forward to a big weekend, actually. We shall see what happens there. Greg says, who wants to see 25 passes at the back? We want goals and ultimately trophies, and we ain't getting that from this manager. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. That's exactly how it is. So let's have a look and see what else has been going on. Greg says, I remember watching George Graham as a player. He managed as he did as a player. Yeah, I don't remember him as a player. He's a bit before my time, but I've seen clips of him playing. He looked a fantastic player, didn't he? Very smooth. And he always looked, didn't he, with his suits and stuff that he wore. He always looked cool, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
So he's probably my favourite. I mean, obviously Arsene Wenger was amazing, and I think, we'll never see another Arsene Wenger. But because George Graham gave me all my first memories of success, he'll always have a special place for me. Do you remember him as a player or not? Was he a bit before your time?
Yeah, no, just I started supporting Arsenal in 1970, so it was the last couple of seasons. I remember watching the cup final when he still says he scored, because there's a bit of debate over that. He still said it was him that scored, but
definitely wasn't.
I've got my story of a family friend played in goals in the 72 final. I've mentioned Jeff before.
Jeff
Bob Wilson got injured. Jeff Barnett. So I can just remember probably I think I had about a season and a half, 2 seasons of George before he moved on.
Yeah, wow.
That was a good team. That 71 team.
Yeah,
that was lovely. And I also think another good team we had was was it 78, 79, the Man United, when they came back to 2-2. I thought that was a good team as well.
Yeah, see, that team for me should have maybe done better in the league, because we were great in the cups, weren't we? We didn't lose a cup game for like 3 years, did we? And I don't know, it always seemed like they should have done better in the league. We just didn't quite. We drew too many games, and we just wasn't quite able to do it in the league consistently enough, which was a shame, because that team was, like you said, it was a really good team, wasn't it? It was well balanced. The defence was good. We had a strong midfield, obviously Liam Brady, Brian Talbot. Obviously we had Stapleton and Sunderland up front, who were the two of the best goal scorers in the league at the time. So we should have won more. We should have won league titles and stuff with that team, but it didn't quite happen, did it?
We talked about Van Persie leaving. On that team, we let Frank Stapleton leave.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and that was my heart.
Yeah, I mean that went to tribunal as well, didn't it? So we didn't even get much money for him that we wanted, because they gave it, but they got him cheap, didn't they? In the end, which was even more frustrating. But unfortunately, we've lost a couple of good players to Man United. Terry says, Erdegaard's a luxury player. He's a failed wonder kid. Why do you think Madrid couldn't wait to get rid of him? I do think he's very overrated, Martin Erdegaard. But anyway, he played a bit better last night. Greg says, we need another Perry Groves. Yeah, we could do with another Perry Groves, couldn't we? An impact player from the bench, what we talked about before. Perry Groves was exactly that, wasn't he? Terry says, Arteta works with Palmer, but decided to waste 65 million on 29. He did work with Cole Palmer, when he was at Man City, of course. Terry says, Neil, you can't go. We don't get enough of you as it is. Well, yeah, he'll be back though, don't worry. And says, Wenger had and still does class, unlike Arteta. Exactly, yeah. I mean, I'm quite interested, actually. I wanted to bring this up before, but we kind of got distracted a little bit. To me, the way Arsenal play under Mikel Arteta, especially this season in particular, for me, it's not the values of Arsenal as a club, is it? It's all this time wasting and the dark arts, as it's called, and relying on set pieces. To me, that's not art. Arteta has brought this in, and it's totally anti-Arsenal for me. It's not what Arsenal are about. Man City can get away with it because they're a crap little club that nobody cares about. They can do all that if they want. I don't care. But I think Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United are the three top teams in English football, and we need to set the standards always. And I think generally we have done. I mean, Man United under Fergie were a bit naughty, but I guess football is a bit different then. But I don't know what Arteta's doing at Arsenal. To me, isn't the Arsenal way. And I don't want to win by cheating. I don't want to win by wasting time. I don't want to win like that, because to me that's not Arsenal's way.
Like it. No, I don't like it. I think the one thing that I dislike most about what Arteta's done is, I'd say it was 2 seasons ago, we had a season where we were blitzing teams, and then the beginning of last season, we thought, well, we're not scoring as many goals. Then eventually, second half of the season, we did, and the reason for that was of this caution that he's introduced. And by that, what I mean is, it's possession. Like how many times, and we talked about it going from side to side. When we're going forward, if the killer pass isn't on, we'll stop and turn our back on the goal and then play it back to Jorginho, Partey, or whoever's there, Saliba, and then we build again, and then it'll go out to the wing, and then it'll end up going across the back line to the other wing. And it's this caution of, if the perfect pass isn't on, or if you can't see a clear goal chance or an opportunity, it's a case of then we'll keep hold of the ball. We won't give it away. And I think what it was that we were losing, and the reason for it was that we were losing goals on transition, where we were losing the ball, trying to make that pass, and then. And the stats, like I said about players, the very stat and data orientated, I think they definitely are also when it comes to tactics as well. And I think what Arteta identified was that we're in transition. We're losing the ball when we're pushing forward. We lose the ball. The transition then ends up in a goal for the opposition. So I think what he tried to do, or what he's trying to do, is nullify that problem by saying, right, well, we won't lose the ball. Possession is king. We'll keep the ball. We'll play it back into. And he's always saying, well, we were patient. We had to hang on. We knew we were going to score eventually. The same words every week. He always says it's patience, and that's where that comes from, I think. And that's where we've changed in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, we
are scoring goals.
Yeah, and
that's why we do well with possession.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, I don't necessarily mind having lots of possession necessarily if it's going to lead somewhere and it's going to lead to chances and goals. But it's more all this time wasting. I mean, we've had the most yellow cards for time wasting. I mean, we've had yellow cards in the first half for time wasting. Nobody time wasting the first half of a game. It's ridiculous, and I just can't stand that. And I know. We sort of Kai Havertz sort of dive to get the penalty against Man U. I thought that was a dive and things like that. I don't know. I just don't like to see Arsenal should be above that. We shouldn't be sinking to that level to win. I mean, yes, you want to do everything you can to win, but not at any cost. You've still got to have your standards, I think. And Arsenal as a football club should demand better standards than that. I just don't like it at all. It doesn't sit well with me. And, some people, you get a lot of Arsenal fans are sort of laughing about it, think it's funny, but I don't. I just don't enjoy it at all. It's not Arsenal. It's not what this club's about. And I don't want Arsenal to be associated with that. That's what we're noted for now. We're noted for a set-piece team and the dark arts. That's all everyone talks about Arsenal. When Arsene Wenger was manager, everyone talks about the great football that we played. Now they're talking about how much we do. And that's where we are under this. Unfortunately, that's where Arteta's taken us. And people say we've progressed. Well, in some ways we've progressed, but in other ways we've gone backwards. And I don't know. I don't like that at all. So there you go. NB says Arteta is one player I can't remember. You don't remember him as a player, Ange? Christ. Greg says he was a better player than a manager. Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, let's face it. Most people are better managers.
I think it's a good manager.
And says I've been blessed, but maybe dementia. Well, it might be dementia. Yeah, it might well be. Was told he had a lot of injuries. Well, he had a lot of injuries towards the end of his career as a player. He didn't have too many before. He played sort of 2 or 3 seasons. Hardly missed a game. He was captain, wasn't he? He was all right as a player. I didn't actually mind him. He wasn't fantastic.
He was a good player,
but he was a steady enough player, wasn't he? He did a decent enough job. I didn't mind him. He was all right. Terry says we don't need a finisher. We were top of the field tilt league. Terry and his field tilt. He loves his field tilt, doesn't he? And says my boy Sanchez. Indeed, Sanchez was quite incredible. How can you remember Sanchez and not Arteta when they played in the same team? Although he was injured a bit when Sanchez was there, I suppose. Greg says he didn't like the wind in his hair. No, he doesn't like the wind in his hair. Absolutely not. Shane, good to see you. He says that we offered £40 million for Suarez. Oh yeah, the summer before Leicester won league. Yeah, that's right, we did. Yeah, wasn't it not 40 million away, £1 as well, wasn't it? Yeah, to beat the.
Was it a pound or a penny? I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember now, but it was just over the threshold, wasn't it? So the release clause. That was quite funny actually. But yeah, we didn't get him obviously, but he would have made a difference, I think. Greg says top 4 is all they want, so they can be in the Super League next season. Yeah, absolutely, of course they do. In fact, you might even be the top 5 might get in the Super League because we might get an extra space next season. So let's see. Terry says top 6 in my opinion. We ain't fell apart yet. Well, we haven't fell apart yet, but we haven't played that well, have we? Lynch says, come on, you Gunners, indeed. Stephen says, I thought you guys would be positive. We are second in the league. You are a version of League Gunner. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I just think we're just being realistic, aren't we? We're second in the league. Here we are.
And but give reasons for it as well. Good reasons.
Yeah, we're second in the league. We are second in the league. And being second in the league is pretty meaningless, really. But it's better than being second from bottom, I suppose. But, we want Arsenal to be... I want Arsenal to be playing good football that we can enjoy. Secondly, I want Arsenal to be successful in terms of winning trophies, or at least, get into cup finals and stuff like we would. Even in Wenger's bad years, we were still getting to cup finals, semi-finals regularly. It wasn't every single season there was a cup semi-final or a cup final. The season was still alive into April because we had the cup still to go. Whereas in the last few years, it's been we've been out of all the cups by January or February, and all we've got is a league title against Man City to look forward to, and ultimately you all know how that's going to end because it always ends the same.
I also think we've been a bit unlucky with FA Cup draws. I mean, the last 3 times it's Man United, Liverpool, and Man City. The last 3 third-round draws, which you've got to beat to win it. I get that, but there's no shame in getting knocked out by all 3 of them, considering people are playing Tamworth and going to extra time against Tamworth when we're going to extra time against Man United.
No, it's different losing to those clubs, and I agree. It's different losing to them than losing to a lower down team. But if you're going to win trophies, you have to be able to beat those teams. That's the point. And the fact we can't beat them on a consistently regular basis in the FA Cup is the reason why we're never going to win anything, because you have to be able to win those games.
I have had a feeling that Arteta doesn't rate the trophies when it comes to the Carabao and the FA Cup.
No, he doesn't.
I think his 2 are the league and the Champions League, and the other 2 will win them as a bonus. I do think that's what I like Arteta. I'm positive about him, but I think he's disrespected the FA Cup.
Yes, and it's like it's an arrogance to think that he can throw away those cups to win the Premier League when we don't win the Premier League. We haven't won the Premier League, so it's like don't throw away the cups. Do you know what I mean? Don't just throw them away because you think you're better than that. Well, you're not better than that because you haven't won anything. You haven't won anything else. The only thing you won was the FA Cup, and even that wasn't even with your team. So don't, you know what I mean? Don't just throw it away and the hope that it might mean that you might try and win the league when you're never going to win the league because you're not good enough. Win the cup. The cups are easier to win. Let's face it, the cups are easier to win. You've got to win a lot less games, and I think that it's easier to win the FA Cup than to win the league, and that's why the best team in the country wins the league, and the best team doesn't always. You don't have to be the best team to win the FA Cup. You just need to win a few games. You just need to be hard to beat and win a few cups. And we should be able to do that because we're difficult to beat. We've lost 2 Premier League games all season. That's it. We should be good enough to win cups because we don't lose games very often, and yet we think so. I
think so. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I've always thought that we've got a good team to win the cup because we've got above average and a top 3 or 4. In the olden days, the cups, all the trophies, whether it's domestic FA Cups, there were teams that would win the league, but also teams at the top would win the FA Cup unless there was a blip where Liverpool and United in them days get knocked out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's nobody left in it. That's where the only thing I think when it comes to winning the cup, you don't have to beat Liverpool, United, City to win the cup. You do to win the league. But when it comes to the cups, if you're lucky, they all go out early doors from playing underestimating a team and putting out the kids out and all that. Early doors.
Or they just knock each other out, don't they? Liverpool play Man United, one of them gets knocked out. Exactly. Man City play the winners of that, another one of them gets knocked out. And, you have to take advantage of that. And, I don't know why we haven't won more.
Well, his current squad is definitely good enough to win either trophy. And I thought we were going to this time. I thought the Carabao Cup now.
Yeah.
I thought, well, now it's semi-final. We've managed not to get Liverpool. We should be able. We're higher than Newcastle in the league. We've got better stats, goals, wins, the lot. Over 2 legs, we should be able to beat them. And, never say never, but it's going to be tough. And I thought that, this was going to be our year because I still remember what it felt like high up in Wembley when Koscielny and I forget the goalkeeper's name, but when we lost to Birmingham. I remember stood in that and it poured down all day, got soaked going. At least Birmingham, we're going to win a trophy.
Yeah.
Oh, so that feeling hasn't left me yet.
No, that was a bad one. That Shane says most of the players are mentally weak. Gabriel should be captain, and players to are kind even to each other. No, I agree with you. I think they are a bit mentally weak, and I agree. Certainly, Odegaard shouldn't be captain, and Gabriel would be a good choice. And that's some.
Oh, it froze on me.
Oh, hang on, what's happened? Oh, are we back now? I think the internet's gone a bit.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a manager's decision to pick Odegaard as captain, and he's probably the most mentally weak player that we've got. So I don't know, it's strange, and that's a problem. Gabriel maybe should be captain. I agree with that. And says our players are most of them are good down. So I don't know if they're all that good really. Some of them are. Neil, we might be onto something there. I think he was right what we were talking about before. Greg says getting Sterling was at the time they should have said this manager hasn't a clue. Well, if it was his decision, then yeah, he definitely
was.
Shane says if Arteta trusted young players, we would have realised obviously Lewis Skelly is better than Calafiore and got a winger. He said, yeah, absolutely, but he didn't want to trust the young players, did he? He didn't want to give him a chance. Terry says if Sterling's that good, he will be in Tommy T's next England team. Well, he definitely won't be, will he? Stephen says we should be supporting the team, not against individuals. I don't think we're against individuals. What we are is we're trying to look. I don't think things are very rosy in the Arsenal garden at the moment, regardless of where we are in the league. Inside the club, not on the pitch necessarily, although there's issues on the pitch, but outside of that, I think there's issues inside the club. We haven't got a director of football put in place. The club don't seem to be making any sort of decisions. God knows what's happening in this transfer window. We're going to panic buy somebody now, obviously, since Jesus' injury, and it'll be a panic buy like Sterling. I've got a feeling it's going to be something like that. It'll be a loan, just a stopgap loan that isn't what we're going to need to get us over the line. And I just think the club's in a bit of a mess, and we should not just accept that and think, well, okay, never mind, we're second in the league. Let's just accept that. No, let's demand better. Let's demand more. Let's demand success. Stephen says a 3-0. Yeah, well, we talk about we give a prediction actually for Saturday's game. Greg says he's just saying good night. So Neil has obviously had to shoot off. So there we go. What else have we got here? Aggie's asking about news about the women's team. We haven't heard yet. We'll do the women's show tomorrow, so maybe there's an announcement there. So we'll have to see. Nothing as yet. Terry says Salty's going to be named as manager. Well, I don't think she will. So there we go. What else have we got? Where are we? Greg says what Arteta is doing is trying to make us an average club, and he's succeeding. Well, I don't know if he's trying to do that, but that seems to be where we're going. And says average and understate. Oh, there you go. Terry says, when did cheating become called dark arts? Well, yeah, I was calling it dark arts. That's just because what it's known as, but it is cheating. You're right. I've got cheating, absolutely, 100%. Mark C says the media has an agenda against us. When we got bullied, they said we were weak. Then when we stand up to it, start dishing it out. I don't. Yeah, I do think the media have had an agenda against us. I agree with that. I don't really care, if I'm honest. I don't care about that because it's not important. I don't necessarily think we're standing up to it. That's not. I've got no problem with us being physical and standing up to a physical challenge. Nothing wrong with that, and I that's what we should be doing. It's more the cheating and the time wasting and the reliance on set pieces. That's the problem that I've got with us, and I think the media have picked up on that as well. And as you'd expect them to, it's their job, isn't it? At the end of the day, but I don't really care what the media say. I kind of laugh at it most of the time. But anyway, what else have we got here? Greg says Arteta is averse to cups. He only likes mugs. He will like my new Arsenal mug, then, won't he? Because that's quite nice, isn't it? There you go. Mark C says Rice is captain material. No, Rice is captain material. He was captain of West Ham, one of the European trophies. Absolutely. Those two, I would say Rice and Gabriel are the two natural choices. I'd maybe go with Rice, and only because maybe he's English, and I think that we've always had some great English captains in the past that have worked. I don't know. Maybe more so.
And a midfielder, I prefer a captain playing in midfield rather than at either end. Yeah,
maybe you're right. They're more influential in the game, aren't they?
Yeah,
I suppose. But yeah, I would be happy with either of those two being captain. I wouldn't have a problem if either of those two were named captain. But he's not going to take it off Odegaard, is he? Because
absolutely not. No.
You know, I don't think unless an issue happened. You know, I remember William Gallas got the captaincy taken off him for some issue that had gone on. I can't remember what it was now.
He sat down, didn't he, when had we scored and he sat down or something on the pitch?
No, that was the Birmingham game, wasn't it? When Eduardo broke his leg and we threw away a 2-goal lead and gave away a penalty at the end. But it was a year after that. Something happened and he got the captaincy taken off him. I can't remember what it was now. That he did something, or I don't know if it was an interview he gave or something like that on French TV or something, and he got it taken off him. But it's something like that needs to happen because it's the only way. Greg says the last decent captain. Well, I don't know. I think Patrick Vieira wasn't a bad captain, was he? Actually, he was a great captain, Patrick Vieira. Obviously, Thierry Henry. I wouldn't necessarily say Thierry Henry was a great captain in the traditional sense, but obviously he was a fantastic player and everybody respected him, so he was all right, wasn't he? Ansby says Big Gabby's still learning English. Well, he's still learning English, but he can communicate in English, so he could be captain, couldn't he? But I would probably choose Declan if I was in charge of making that decision. But anyway, it's going to be Martin Odegaard for the foreseeable future. So there we go. But yeah, I mean, you know, we've got through quite a lot tonight. We've talked about a few different things. You know, it's not all been positive, and I just feel as though that's fine because supporting a football club everything isn't always rosy in the garden, and you don't have to accept it being. You don't have to just always accept everything and to be a supporter of the club. But the whole point is you want the best for your club, and if by wanting the best it means you're not happy when things are not quite right, then that's fine. That's showing support, isn't it? Just going along with everything. Oh no, that's fine. It's all right. Let's support the team. Doesn't matter. That to me isn't being a proper supporter of the club. That's just going along with it and wanting to be popular, wanting people to like
criticism.
Exactly. Tough love is what's needed sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what I think. It's important that we do that. It's important that we do, and we don't just accept everything just because we don't want to be looked on by other people as being a bad fan because we disagree with certain things. I don't think that's the right way. All of us, whether or not you stand in the stand singing Mikel Arteta songs all the time, or whether you don't want Mikel Arteta as manager, we all want the best for our club. All of us do, right? Yeah. We all want the club to succeed. We want to see us winning trophies again. We want to see us at the very top. And we want to see us doing things in the right way. And that's what all of us want. And how we choose to portray that is each individual's got their own right to do it however they want. And I don't like seeing things, particularly on social media, well, you should support Arsenal like this. You should support even what Declan Rice says, real fans he called yesterday, the real fans in the stadium. Well, if there's only 55,000 real Arsenal fans, we're not a big club, are we? We're a big club because we've got fans all over the world that love this club and want the best for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. And they're just as real as the fans who are sometimes unfortunate enough to get tickets and have to watch the games, right? We're all real fans. Every single person that loves Arsenal is a real fan. And I think Declan Rice, he didn't mean it in that way, I'm sure. But
no, he meant it with reference to Havertz and social media.
People online.
That's what he was talking about. Definitely.
Did. But to say the real fans in the stadium, to me, was the wrong way of putting it.
I think he was saying that none of the fans in the ground would have posted the things that were posted about.
No, absolutely, and he's right. But most of the fans online,
the cheer is the loudest cheer when he was read out on the team sheet. And I think what he was trying to say was that not all the real Arsenal fans wouldn't post stuff like that. I think that was his point he was trying to make, whether they're in the stadium or not.
Yeah, it was. But because he mentioned the real fans in the stadium was like, well, I'm sorry, Declan, but, you know, most real Arsenal fans aren't fortunate enough to be able to get tickets to go to the stadium. And half the ones in the stadium are tourists that aren't real Arsenal fans anyway. So that was a little bit of a bad thing to have said, but I'll forgive him because he's Declan. I love him. But, you know, it did annoy me a little.
We know what he meant.
Yeah. We know what he meant, but it's only because we know what he meant, but there'll be people out there that maybe don't know what he means, and they will think that he only means the fans in the stadium, and that's wrong. Because Arsenal are anywhere. If you go anywhere in the world and you wear an Arsenal top, you are going to get people talking to you and saying Arsenal, lovely Arsenal, and stuff like that. Because Arsenal are a big name everywhere. Yeah, and we've got supporters all over the world, right? And we are a big club because of that reason. It's not just the fans in the stadium that matter; it's the fans everywhere throughout the world, and that's something that maybe he wasn't quite in tune with at the time he made those comments. But we'll let him on. Mark C says the ticket allocation lottery thing is a farce, in my opinion. The club messed up changing its administration of ticket sales. I mean, it is. The one thing I've always said is, and one of the reasons why, I mean, I'm a member. And I could enter ballots for tickets, but I am not. I refuse to enter a ballot to get a ticket to watch Arsenal. It's not a lottery. It's not a game of chance. That's not what it is. I'm not going to enter a ballot to get a ticket. I don't mind queuing up. I'll queue up to get a ticket and take me chances that way. I'm not going to go into a ballot. Absolutely no chance. And as soon as they did that, I stopped even bothering. I'm not going to get a ticket by going in a ballot, because that's totally wrong. That's disrespecting fans. It's not right. It's not about. I can remember in the old days queuing up to get tickets for games outside the stadium, right? Queuing up for 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours. I don't mind that. I'll do that and take me chances. If I don't get one, I don't get one. But I would queue for a ticket. No way am I going to go into a ballot to be selected. Oh, you've been luckily selected. Your numbers come up. You can get a ticket. No, I'm sorry. I've supported Arsenal for 50 years, mate. I've supported Arsenal longer than you lot in the box office have even been alive. You're not going to tell me I'm lucky to win a ticket to a game that I've still got to pay 50 quid for. No, I'm not doing it. I've not been in one ballot, and I will not do it. And I agree with that 100%. They totally messed that up, and that's not how you treat supporters. Shane said supporting Arsenal is not a Netflix program. The most successful club in the world, Real Madrid, are ruthless. Fans pay big money following their club. We say it as it is. 20 years since last week. But exactly, you're right, Shane. 100%, mate. 100% agree with you. Absolutely correct. Greg says most of the fans in the ground are not the real Arsenal fans. They've priced out the offer. They're not the real Arsenal fans at all. Anyone that's ever been to the Emirates in the last 10 years, the majority of the fan base in there now is not what I would consider the real Arsenal fans. Like you said, most of the real Arsenal fans don't go to the games anymore because, one, they can't get tickets for them. Yeah, they've been priced out. And as well now, Arsenal are more interested in the younger social media fans, aren't they? That's what Arsenal want in the ground. They in fact invite them in. They invite them into the changing rooms and invite them into the press areas, these YouTubers and stuff like that. They do. Yeah. Because that's what Arsenal want. That's the sort of fans they want. They want the tourists to come in from all over the world to watch the one-off games here and there. The club don't care about the real fans, not the real fans. Yeah. Of course they don't. That's why they moved to the Emirates. They cared about real fans. They could have stayed at Highbury. 38,000 real fans. That's what we had. Now we've got 60,000 stadium, and none of them are real fans. They're not the real fans.
Well, the reason the club wants them, when you get the one-off tourists coming, they go and spend a fortune in the shop. Whereas the real fans who've already got the shirt for the season, they're not spending so much. But when people come as a one-off, week after week after week, those one-offs spend a lot more money than the fans do. That's it. And that's why when it comes to KSA, I think, am I right in thinking I think it was Stan rather than Josh came out and said, I didn't buy Arsenal to win trophies.
Yeah.
Was that a famous quote? And, he did it as an investment, as a business investment. And that's why when they can be happy in us finishing second, if the tourists are coming in and buying the shirts. Whereas the fans want trophies.
Yeah, and the real fans want trophies. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Mark C says that in the papers there was a photo of someone wearing a half and half scarf last night. What a joke! In fact, I saw that picture, and I'm pretty sure it was a fan in the Tottenham end, and it looked like a tourist from abroad that's done it, and it looked like I was in the Tottenham end. But at the end of the day, that's what modern football attracts those people to the game. It's trendy, isn't it? I can remember in the 80s when the grounds were half empty. And it was only real fans that came. No one went to football in the 80s as a tourist. Absolutely no chance. Or the 90s. And now it's just full of them. But anyway, we're not going to change any of that, are we? Let's just hope that Arsenal can find some way of being successful, because that's what we want on the pitch, success, trophies. Shane says Arsenal is a franchise. In Kroenke's eyes, absolutely is. Exactly that. It is exactly that. And says, right, this old girl needs sleep. See you tomorrow. We will see you tomorrow, and take it easy. Greg says, nights are end indeed, and Terry as well. Well, I mean, it's getting late actually. We will have to call it a day. It's been a good show. I've enjoyed it. It's nice. I say I don't do enough on the men's team lately. Just haven't had the time. There's too many games, quite honestly. There's Champions League games.
Well, they're playing 3 times a week, aren't they?
And then the women are playing when they start. They're playing twice a week, so there's like not many days left, is there, for anything else?
Not
it's
really.
taking up too much time. And then of course it was Christmas, and I wanted a break and do other stuff. So, but we'll do this a lot more actually going forward. We will have to, because it's great to get the guys together, and it's always good fun. So yeah, we will do it again. Don't forget, of course, tomorrow we've got a women's show, which is always good. Of course, we're going to have the Lord Andreas will be here, of course, for that one. The WSL's back. The women are finally back in action. Wow, it seems to have been years since we last played. That's going to be great. So that's the game against Crystal Palace. So we'll look into that. Still no announcement on the manager situation, so we'll have to talk about that again. There's loads of other stuff going on as always. So join us tomorrow at 7:30 for that. Of course, weekend 2 games. Saturday, Aston Villa. That is going to be good. Unai Emery back at the Emirates again, where of course he ended our title chances last season. And of course, there is the game on Sunday. The women playing Crystal Palace. WSL is back. Looking forward to that so much. It's been a long time. It's been good. Obviously, thanks to Neil and Lee, who have both had to depart because they're old and need their sleep. Me and Mike are hardcore. We can last to the end, you see.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, they're lightweights, them two, but it was great to have them back on. I'm sure we'll do it again. It's been great to see you again, Mike. Have you enjoyed being on the show again?
It's a pleasure, completely, all mine.
Fantastic. You coming on tomorrow for the women as well?
Yep.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Mark C says it's a busy January. Keep the faith. Well, it'll be a busy January for some people. I don't think it'll be a busy January for us, but we'll see. Still a couple of weeks left, of course. Let's keep our fingers crossed, because let's hope so. So you will be back tomorrow for the women's show. Mike will be with us, and you'll be with us, and of course Andreas will be with us. What a show that's going to be! So make sure you don't miss that. And of course, what a weekend! A weekend of football, Saturday and Sunday. Brilliant. Terry says at last we can see some decent football being played in an Arsenal kit. Come on, a good. He goes, indeed, yeah. Sunday's going to be good. We're looking forward to that, aren't we? And hopefully we've got a new proper manager in place. It's been announced anyway, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't know what they're doing, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. So it's been good. Thank you very much for joining us. Please like and subscribe, of course. We'll see you tomorrow for the women's show. Terry says, yeah, great seeing you again, Mike. Indeed, it has been. Of course, great seeing everybody. And great seeing you guys in the chat as well. So we'll see you tomorrow for the women's show. Take it easy, guys. Come on, you Gunners.
Come on, you Gunners.
See you later, guys. See you tomorrow.
Good night.